Sounds like it's going through the computer.
I don't think Jay.
Can you hear me?
Mic check. Mic check. Wow. Can you hear it? Oh, you can't?
You're in a big echo.
Hello, hello.
Mic check.
Microphone
check.
That sounds good.
Check.
I working now.
It worked when I pulled up a YouTube video.
I wish we were back to real normal life. This sucks.
I was on it once. I must have got moved
Can you
off.
hear it over
There
the?
you are. There it is.
Yeah.
Hello, 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 hello.
Yeah. Who's the master computer today?
Okay. Can you hear now? Through the-
Mic check.
Are we coming over?
Okay, perfect.
What'd you do? Jay's is doing the same thing.
Oh, sorry.
So there's a setting in Zoom. Right there.
Ah,
You want,
that'll do it.
yeah, you don't want the,
Is Zoom another one of those that's developed by China?
you don't want the speaker.
Actually,
on the
yes.
headset. Otherwise it'll come through the speakers and.
They claim they've got it
Hear me
all
now?
secured
Yeah.
somehow.
Perfect. Thank you.
Huh.
I can. Oh, yeah,
Right. Yes.
Supposedly, anyway.
you only use
Yep.
that during.
I hear fine. Thank you very much.
Wow. I never noticed this gallery view button on Zoom. That's kind of a trip.
Where's that?
Where is that?
Up at the top on mine.
You got it.
That's where you get all the other.
Where?
Right there. Look at that.
Mine doesn't have that.
That's the first time I've ever seen it. I've always had that.
Yeah, me too.
I use.
I don't see that even
Speaker
on
view.
mine.
Oh, you were there. Click on speaker view. No. Yep.
Oh,
So-
cool.
Did yours come up, Bill? Let's see.
I can't. You have to figure
Oh,
out.
yeah, you're on speaker view right now.
I am.
Uh-huh.
How do you get to the gallery?
Oh, I was gallery view versus speaker view. I've never seen that on mine until
Where is it?
today.
How do you get it? Oh, there it is up. Where is it? Up
You
here?
said something about holding down
Gallery
the
view.
space bar.
Yeah,
What
if you
was
want to
that?
speak, you just hold that down and talk. And then it unmutes you automatically, and then you let up in
What
it.
was
But
that?
wait a minute, I don't see the big screen like he's got.
All your audio is going through your microphones.
Right. Yeah, we were talking about that on a meeting yesterday. I don't know why I can't
So how do you get the
minimize.
gallery view? Oh, I see, enter full screen. There it is. Here's the gallery view.
I can't exit my full screen today either. I don't
It's
know
on
what
the
that's
right,
all
up at the
about.
top by gallery view. Is that
I don't know how
cross?
the hell I'm gonna get to my agenda.
Yeah. I know here.
Exit full screen, Alt F.
And I will always worry about hitting alt anything.
Vern, I cannot get to my agenda. I can't get this screen to minimize.
I'm sorry, Vernon. Jeez, it's all the way in. Oh, another
Okay,
one. Okay.
now exit full screen. Doesn't do it. What'd you do?
I see Jay in huge face. I don't know why.
Out of the whole screen or?
You just grab this top bar.
Right.
and move
Oh, it minimizes it automatically.
it. Not
no.
minimizes, it reduces it. So you can move
I
around.
didn't mean minimize, yeah, reduces. Thanks.
Well, hasn't this fun?
I've got 2 minutes till this. I'm just gonna change this clock.
All right, I gotta get back up to
Thank you. Let me.
Don't you love it?
Okay. The Custer County Board of County Commissioners meeting will come to order. Let the record show today is September the 2nd, 2020. The time is 9:00 a.m. I wonder if we might ask Canada if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance today. Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. Madam Clerk to the board, would you conduct the roll, please?
Commissioner Flower,
Present.
Commissioner Kanda,
Here,
Commissioner Prince,
President.
Attorney Clint Smith, Admin Assistant Kara Evans, and Clerk to the Board Kelly Camper present.
Thank you, ma'am. Audience introductions. We do not have anyone else in the room. So we'll move on. Amendments to the agenda. Were you talking to me, Kelly? Oh, yeah, okay. Gentlemen, any amendments to the agenda?
none from me.
Commissioner Prince, go ahead.
I do, sir. The last item on new business, it says consideration of hiring process for HR Finance Director. It should say consideration of hiring process for HR Finance Director Assistant.
Director Assistant or Assistant Director?
It's
Either way
assistant.
you want to go, as long as we
We
get the
called
word
it
assistant.
assistant.
I'd prefer
right.
Assistant Director.
I'm
So
fine with
is that
that.
a motion, sir?
That is a motion.
I
Yes, sir.
second.
Been moved and seconded to insert the word assistant between finance and director on the last item of new business. Further discussion? Yeah, I spoke to Donna this morning as well. She said she had several people ask her why she was leaving. So it was an omission on our part, so we'll correct that. Donna's, to my knowledge, is not leaving as the finance director. We've been working on trying to hire an assistant director.
It'd be nice to catch first, wouldn't it?
I did not see it. I didn't see it at all. That's right. Discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of amending the agenda by adding the word assistant between finance and director on the last item of new business, say aye. Commissioner Prince?
Aye.
Commissioner Vanda?
Aye.
Power votes aye. Anything else, gentlemen, on amendments to the agenda? Mr. Katan?
No.
I have one, and I would move to add at the bottom of new business, consideration of substance abuse prevention block grant. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to,
That was on there.
okay. It's not on my copy, so, okay.
Not on mine.
We've got the, that's all right. Been moved and seconded to amend the agenda by adding consideration.
It's on the one that's posted.
Oh,
Correct.
okay. So then we don't need to amend it. We can just add it to our copy. I'll withdraw my motion. Is the second withdrawn?
I'll withdraw it.
Okay, second's withdrawn. So let's just add, gentlemen, because it's on the posted agenda. If you don't have it on your copy, do you, Bill?
No,
Consideration of substance
I'm trying to get the,
abuse prevention. Okay,
You did.
okay,
was it as the clerk or what?
okay. Further amendments?
I have none, sir.
If none, we'll move on. Approval of the minutes. We do not have any commissioner items. Commissioner Prince, would you like to begin?
Well, since yesterday, the only thing we did was the three of us met on the CARES Act committee. Made some great strides, I thought. I got a comment from Westcliff. They signed the IGA between the three entities, and
It's okay.
sorry about that.
No, that's all right.
And they're sending, Westcliff sending it on to Silvercliff, who will sign it, and then it'll come back to us for signature. So that should be done within the next day or so. That's
Great.
all I have, sir.
All right, Commissioner Kanda?
Yeah, same thing on that one. That was a good meeting, I thought, too, with the mayors on that. Also met with, over the telephone, we're discussing the AWAS with the Armstrong Engineering and working out the details on the budget. It looks like we've got an option that's we're gonna have enough money to save some things. We're not gonna have to be deep digging into anybody else's pocket, looks like. And with a little bit of margin now, because that helped with the Sanger de Cristo doing their thing. That helped a bunch. Jay?
Bill, when it's finally up and running, would you have a little field trip? I mean, I've heard
Yeah.
about this system for so long. I'd sure like to see what it is and how it operates.
Well, we will, and it's going to be, we're working on it. We'll hear from Brian and
Okay.
Lynn here in a little bit, but we have to get the schedule. There's two kinds of, there's three schedules going on. There's an electrical contractor that's working for AWI that is being handled by them. That's the company that puts it in, and they're going to build it.
Right.
Meanwhile, Sangre is going to be doing their thing, and we'll be managing getting them in there, and they all got to come together at the same time, and then we'll connect the system.
Got it.
That we hope is done before the ground freezes, and that's the plan.
Great.
We'll get more from them.
Thank you.
Also, I'm working, as I've mentioned before, the schedule with Carmel. We'll know about that. It'll probably be next Monday or Tuesday, and I'll put that out as soon as we can.
Okay.
All right. And I think that's all I need to say right now.
Okay. Yeah, I attended the Coronavirus Relief Fund Committee meeting yesterday as well, and then attended the Zoom meeting for Economic
Oh, yeah,
Recovery
that's
Task Force meeting,
I did
which,
too.
By the way, did we decide every other week? I think that's what the end game was, right?
yeah, I just had the same feeling that seems like we talk about a couple things, maybe new every week, but I supported the idea of going to a every other week format. So And that's all I have. Strategic plan report, anything?
Yeah, we got that nailed down. We're gonna meet, as I said, it's gonna cost $750. I'll get Donna to write a voucher on that when it's done. It'll be a 2-hour meeting. We want to go in depth on where we stand and she's got a homework assignment, and I'll send it to you. So you gotta tell her what you've seen, what's been good, what's been happening. A lot of people have been, including the tourism board and other people, keep referring to the strategic plan, and I think some things are being worked, some are not as good as others. And then she wants to know if there's some things that we have in mind that would help. And the other thing is we got to figure out who we would like to attend that have a vested interest in it. Some of the people that helped develop it, we could grab a hold of the tourism board. Maybe Debbie ought to be here or whoever. So let's think about that and give her a list. Maybe we ought to consolidate. Get me who you think ought to be there, and I'll coordinate that.
Yeah, just verify that that's on the 14th at 1 o'clock.
Yes.
All right.
Yes,
That's gonna be here.
2 hours. Yeah, right here.
Okay, anything else on strategic plan? report?
No.
Okay, we'll move on. Attorney items?
Nothing relating to the Board of County Commissioners, but I do need to advise you, Jackie Hobby, in connection with the investigation she's doing for the Board of Health, wrote a couple of letters that she wanted me to look over and make some revisions to. I did that, but I also, and again, this relates to the Board of Health, and I can't go into the details other than that the sheriff has become involved in the investigation that she is doing. And I think the Board of Health we need to talk about that in the Board of Health as soon as we can. I'll talk to the sheriff about that as well. But he's doing his own investigation now, so.
Are those letters going to go to the Board of Health as well, or?
The letters that Jackie wrote are to unaffected property owner, and the other one is to the property owners of the property where the alleged violation has occurred. It's more of an investigative report summing up her investigation and asking them to sign off on it, that they acknowledge that it's correct. So that's what's going on. But because the sheriff's office is involved for obviously a possible criminal side, I think it's important for the Board of Health to discuss that with the sheriff and try to coordinate with them.
Okay,
It'll be in a separate
so
meeting.
we schedule, it will be?
Yeah. You want to keep it focused. You didn't intend for it to be until they get started. When did you want to have that?
Well, I'll talk to the sheriff.
We were talking about the
coordinate
schedule.
with him as much as possible to make sure that he doesn't go out. Well,
Right.
he's independent, he's looking into possible criminal violations, Board of Health doesn't know what to do, but I'd like, to have a coordinated effort on this.
So we just
We're gonna
agreed
meet
to have a
on the
meeting on the 11th.
We are.
That's the next Board of Health meeting.
For the 11th.
Yeah, which is next Friday.
Okay, I'll talk to Sheriff in the meantime, and depending on where we're at, and
That's what
if at that time we're ready to disclose more information about the investigation, then the sheriff could be part of that as well.
So I was going to get the suggested agenda items. I was going to run it by you, Clint.
Okay.
So let's do that, and then I'll send it to everybody.
Anything else, sir?
No, it's it.
Thank you. Okay, let's see where we at. Find my agenda. Oh, there we are. Next item on the agenda, administrative assistant items. No problem. Let the record show that there were no administrative assistant items to be dealt with today. Public comment? If you have, if you're on the call today and would like to have comments to the Board of County Commissioners, now's the appropriate time. Second call for public comment. Okay, we'll move on. Staff report, first staff report on the agenda this morning. 3 minutes ahead of schedule is the airport. I saw some
airport fly
rough-looking
boys.
individuals out there, and by golly, there they are. Nah, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Good morning, sir, how are you?
You can, if you're really
Good
worried,
morning.
you can
Good to
watch
see you.
now.
Hello, Brian, how are you?
Good
You
morning,
guys
sir.
are welcome to sit wherever you'd like. How are you? Good, let me see, I don't think we had a report ahead of time, did we, gentlemen?
No.
Really,
You're that close. I got to
after our,
mask up.
after our rendezvous the other day.
Brian Anderson.
So what I do have is fuel sales that Mr. Jolly got for us. There's 2212 gallons in the tank. We just got a couple weeks ago. 808 gallons sold in August.
808 or 180?
808.
Okay.
Do you know by any chance what our margin is at this time?
No, I think we paid, I think he said $3.02. And we're selling it for $3.99.
Okay. So in
Wow.
the 90-cent range.
Yeah.
That's very good.
Yes. And we compare, we're a little less than a lot of the surrounding airports.
That's great.
Some are,
We're have to have you speak a little
Some are
closer, and a
less.
little louder, please.
okay,
Thank you. Yeah,
right.
wow,
So
good. So
we're all right.
$3.99.
Yeah.
Okay.
so we're good.
Good.
And I didn't know if you had any questions or anything you wanted to talk about after.
How big is the current fuel tank? Do you know, Lynn? Is that a 5,000 or
I think it was
Thanks.
3,000 gallons.
3,000?
That's from yesterday. It was hung up. Remember, we were having a problem. Okay, thanks.
Does that sound right, Brian?
Yeah.
And Lynn,
3,000.
prior to the budget meetings, you'll tell us what the cost of demolishing, removing, and installing a new fuel tank would be. Is that correct?
You'd like to see that?
Yeah,
That we were,
I don't
by,
think
by
we,
budget time. We don't have to do it immediately.
Right.
We need to know what the
what to
cost is gonna
expect.
be. Yeah, especially, I'm concerned the demolition and the disposal and also the cost of installation.
the last time the state was here, they thought they could take that tank and sell it to someone else. I
Well,
think I remember
I
that.
thought it was
but
unsafe.
I know, but
for farm use or something like that, not
Oh, okay.
yeah,
It's
if it's
junk
so
in it.
unsafe, we're gonna pass it down.
And,
right?
and I don't mean to tell the public that our fuel tank is unsafe.
Right,
It's just, it is deteriorating and we want to do something before it becomes unsafe.
It's called preventive maintenance.
Correct. I didn't want to mislead the public to think that we're selling fuel
Right.
from an unsafe tank.
Right.
So I didn't state it correctly. I just want to clarify what I
And
was
there's-
trying to say.
Yeah, and that kind of begs the question on timing. So we got to kind of figure out how you're going to be watching it and what's
Okay.
going to be indicators to get it wired where we want to spend the money.
Are there grants available for replacement of the tank or some of that?
Well, we didn't think there was, but by golly, Aviation
right,
Department of CDOT
funded two of them.
funded 2 of them last year. So
Right.
are you guys thinking that this
What-
fuel tank replacement ought to happen next calendar year?
Probably not.
You think you can get by another year, huh? Wow.
We're thinking unless it just really,
Hmm.
because their capital improvement plan, the state, for next year was the runway maintenance. And then to go after a new fuel also would probably be,
Right.
so,
That kind of begs the question too. DOLA, we applied to DOLA last year for fuel, and they entertained it as well. And Brian, you brought up you had somebody that you may be looking at to hire or help, professional grant writer in the aviation world. Did that ever pan out, or can it later?
I discussed it with him, and typically he works with airfields that are FAA certified.
He's afraid to go out on a limb here with us.
I'm afraid that's his expertise.
I think if he's professional to sell it to the FAA, selling it to DOLA, and that, I think it's worth looking into. Have him take a look at it and see what he thinks. Maybe he doesn't want to waste his time.
and we could give the state a heads up that we might be looking at that the next grant cycle. But I think we'll do the
Yeah.
runway maintenance next year, which is what they wanted to do, so.
So it's probably not as critical as I thought. I thought
Well,
it was a critical
it's
issue.
not crisis, but we definitely need to be
Okay.
thinking and
That's
planning
fine.
and,
Good, I feel better about it.
yeah.
And it helps us with our leverage with anybody else that might want to help from a private,
Yeah.
donation point of view, like Odd Six or somebody else.
I think we should pursue in parallel the grant process. Show the commissioners and county what that would entail for a matching type of fund. And I think we should also pursue in parallel, if we have to do this independently, and then look at the criticality of the next few inspections to see what the service life could potentially be for the tank. And then we owe you that in the next budget meeting.
Good idea. You can pin that.
Yeah,
to
I
your
guess
file.
I was thinking if we decided to move ahead with replacing the fuel tank only,
Right.
unhook that one, pump it off into a holding tank or a tanker, and then fill the other one, or,
Make that one go away.
yeah,
Because with a
and leave
double
the,
wall tank, you wouldn't need that wall.
right, leave the
So-
fuel station where it's at,
Mhm.
leave whatever pumps are there and
That's
so on
an
and so
option.
forth. Just put in
Yeah.
a new tank. I wonder what the cost of that would be. To me, that would be the bare minimum that we needed to do.
And one thing to keep in mind, don't forget, we've already bought a card reader,
Right. That's all
and it
new.
is got both Jet A and AV capability. So eventually, when we do this, we got a plan so that if we are going to get Jet A, where would you actually have it? So it might, so the bare minimum may be a little bit more money to put it in a different spot, not necessarily get the Jet A yet. So,
Right.
but it's got to be the big picture.
And I think a double walled tank, if we ever went to a one fueling point, like we were talking about with that 6, you could probably move that tank.
True.
So,
Mhm. Yeah, I just thought, I mean, that's kind of what I was
That's a
thinking.
good
What
idea.
could we do and what could we afford to do as a bare minimum to take care of the tank problem? Well,
Right.
obviously, it's buy a new tank. If it doesn't fit into the big plan or we can't move it, then it wouldn't make a lot of sense.
but I think we could.
Yeah.
So I think they're on skids.
Yeah,
I'm
probably
trying to
are.
remember what Fremont's look like.
They are. They don't put a foundation on
Mhm.
it. Well, they have a foundation, but that's not anchored to it.
And then after the other day too, I didn't know if you guys had any thoughts for a manager, how we ought to pursue that.
I would say we'll have to look at that at budget time. If that's what you guys are going to recommend, I'd submit that as a budget line.
Yeah.
Sure,
And we're
it's your
going- we're going to,
call,
but-
Lynn. You guys decide how you want to manage the money you got. If you need more, just like Tom
Well,
said,
we
we present.
do plan to put that in the
Okay.
budget request, but in the internal, I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll
I
try to
don't,
make something happen out there as far as.
Were you talking
inspections.
about paying somebody starting now till when the new budget comes into effect, or
Well,
what?
I don't know if we can get somebody to come and do that. Other
So
than
then
this
it's-
airport board.
So it's going to wait till we go through the budget.
Till the first of the year anyway.
One of the concepts that was being discussed was as Mr. Jolly begins to phase out his tenure out there, is we bring in an hourly type person. Bob still supervises from a managerial standpoint and directs actions. And that would be something.
You'd like to have some overload, like,
Absolutely,
over-
some continuity effort there, and then the hourly person, some number of hours, 20 hours a week would come out, perform the inspections that Bob does on a volunteer basis now, and see what long-term maintenance things need to be done.
so is he willing to do that after the first of the year?
Just, he had indicated until the full-time person comes on.
Yeah.
Recognizing it may be
Yes.
long-term. Okay.
so I've got a thought, I want to throw out here. You guys obviously have your budget. If you think there's room in your budget to hire an hourly person, I think that's not our decision. Tourism hires people all the time. They don't ask us.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Other
your budget.
departments hire stuff. If it's in your budget, now you may not have a line item in your budget for an hourly maintenance person, but if you have money in your budget that you can allocate to that, then I'd say go
Donna can
forth
set it
and-
up.
and move
or How
on.
you want to manage.
Um,
'Cause
uh,
I was thinking that it's really us being volunteers. We don't have the right or the position
Right.
to hire a county employee.
Right, well,
Well, you
So-
do.
I think you do.
You do. You
You're
honestly
managing,
do.
you're managing a county budget as a volunteer.
You're already managing
I
it,
think
real
it's
money.
appropriate for you to have a part-time employee or employee, however you deem appropriate, if you have the money in the budget. I think your board of directors certainly would have that.
you know, Road and
authority.
Bridge hires and fires all the time. Tourism hires out contractors. This would probably be a contract, 1099 hourly rate. I personally would support this board dealing with that, keeping us apprised if you have the money. If you don't have the money, now that's a different ballgame.
Right.
But if you have the money in your budget that you can manipulate around within your budget and you feel like it's justifiable, I'd say then that's
And
on
you-
your plate. That just kind of came over me since our meeting the other day. We have boards and groups of the county function all the time without us knowing anything about it. And I don't know why this would be any different,
It's not.
as long as it's within your budget.
We did look at that. We looked at, we could reprogram a couple of lines that did give us the latitude to reprogram that. It's a small amount of money,
From now
our
until,
budget from
For the
now
first
until
of
the
the
end
year,
of the year.
sure.
Right.
And I
And
believe, I don't know the exact vernacular on the line, but it's something about contract services.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I
and
mean,
then
I
you have
can
to be
look.
ready to defend the
uh,
budget during the budget time, the additional amount to cover that guy all next year. So
Look
or
and see.
move around your budget to account for it.
All right.
Yeah, I just, maybe these gentlemen have a different opinion, but I thought all of a sudden, it seems like we're getting down in the weeds with the airport board
We are.
of almost handling the airport board differently than we handle other boards. Tourism board's 100% volunteer, but they spend money and they make decisions all the time.
And
We
the-
never know about it
It's
until
tax,
we
and
see
it's
the
separate
voucher.
tax money that they're managing, period.
See,
So-
and I was wrong then.
Go for
I
it.
just didn't think it was our
Yeah.
authority
Well, and that's,
to hire an employee for the county.
Go for it.
It's not a part of your employee.
yeah, it's,
Contract labor.
Okay.
And even if
it
it
actually
was,
would be a contract labor for the airport board.
Yeah.
Right.
Which kind of sounds a little funky, but,
but you see that, look at the big picture on it. Anybody could volunteer. My life's dream is to be the airport manager, and I'm going to do it for free. I'm giving the county the money, meaning my time, to do it. And the county, you can manage the county assets. It's up to us to allow that to happen.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
hiring a public county employee.
Good. I think you got that
In-
message.
in 20, in
Don't need to
2020,
kill it anymore.
I have been corrected.
in 2020, you
We're
did not,
helping you. We're working together.
that's right.
All right. Then I just had a thought too on the cement pad in front of the county building. It is my humble opinion that I think we just need somebody to pull the trigger, do it, be done with it. Pay the 1/3 if that's what we're gonna do, send 2/3 of the bill to the fire department and let them figure out.
That's right. I thought we were going to coordinate that. You get with the contractor, the fire department, and you
Yeah,
guys.
But
We spoke yesterday with Gary Hyde. He is on board about
Yeah.
removing the concrete and putting in road base and tapping it down or whatever the process is. So he's on board with that.
Can you get a sense of timing on that?
I don't.
2 weeks, he said, roughly, because they're up
He's
on
ready
that
to
road
move on
now.
it Quickly with, he's got to schedule it in, but
But that's, you guys you're managing it.
so would you want us to just pursue that, get it done and
Yeah.
and kind of like turn the bill in?
That
Got
would be
to.
my opinion. Again, I just think this is another
We're micromanaging it.
another example of micromanaging or non-micromanaging. It would be my preference to say,
Do it.
the next thing I'd like to hear about it is done and here's how much it was.
Right.
as a commissioner.
Or if there's an issue because of whatever, something comes up and you need more money, that's another, that would be something different for you. If it's not in your budget, if you got it covered, knock
Well,
yourself
Well, it
out.
wasn't a
Well, what if we
budgeted
don't?
item. You
That's
don't,
right.
that's the problem.
That's the problem.
That's
Yeah,
the point. So you
exactly.
bring it,
That's why I'm saying we turn the bill into Donna. and
Yeah, I
however
mean-
She's gonna pay the 1/3 and the rest to the fire department.
that's right.
You know, to me, in the business world, you would, since it's a non-budgeted item, you would come and say, this is how much the project is gonna cost, this is how much the county's gonna pay for, and this is how much the fire department's gonna pay for it.
Right.
Do you authorize us to move forward or not? Because it's an unbudgeted item. That would be my perspective. Now,
And one little course correction in that is 3 board meetings ago, airport board meetings. Fred Mountain Fire Protection District Board was represented. And what we agreed to was that they, the fire protection guys, would take the lead on this project. We were the damaged party, so to speak.
Yeah, that's
They
fine.
caused the damages. We asked them to take the lead on obtaining the bids and working with the county commissioners on how it would be funded. So we're not trying to kick the can down the road, but that's what was agreed to
Right.
3 months ago.
so then I would go back and say, hey, you guys agreed to take the lead on this? What, when, and how much is it gonna be? Because we need to answer to the commissioners,
Right.
and we need an answer.
Noted and been done.
Yep. So
Okay,
if you want us to get involved, I think we
Yeah.
would be willing to do that.
So they're gonna be the master integrator of all the 3
Yeah.
entities. So that's okay. Doesn't matter who does it. Just,
and as Brian just said, he's been communicating with them. We're just
Well-
waiting for something to happen.
So if you want us to communicate with the board of directors for the fire department, I'll be glad to do that.
I think that parallel message would be most beneficial.
I think that new fire chief is, he's just in this thing. Give him a chance to tell him to go do it.
Gentlemen, would you agree with that
Seriously.
or not? I mean, obviously, we're a year and a half down the
Yeah,
road, so
Exactly.
I don't,
That's why I said,
Tell him to do it.
I'm almost of the point, since it's been so long, you might say, if you don't get something done by the end of September, give them a deadline, we're moving forward and we'll just send
And
you
you
a bill
get
for
the
your
bill.
shot. And that way, they'll go, yeah, we're working on it. Here comes October, November, December, now the ground's
Right.
frozen, we can't do it. So my feeling is, let's give them a deadline. They've had ample time to do it. I'm disappointed. Let's just get her done.
So
But I
Brian,
think it's fair, since you do have an
Yeah.
agreement, I'm sorry, sir. Since you do have an agreement, it's fair to say to them, hey, you told us you can do it. If you don't want to do it, we'll take the lead and we're going to start working on it today.
right,
yeah, I think that's, I
We're
think they're
gonna do
ready.
it
Are
today.
you
Yeah.
the point of contact?
I've been working with
So-
Marty Berry. and-
Yeah,
and the
so you
gang
just
there.
tell Marty to get on the.
well,
stage.
Marty's the one that said he'd do it, and it
Yeah.
didn't get
Yeah.
done. So how
Right.
long, how much longer are we gonna
Well,
keep going back to
But did
whoever?
you tell
That's
him
my
you're ready?
frustration.
I think you did.
Well, that goes back to my question to Mr. Friends is, what sense of timing did we get from Gary? Now we have the ability to go back to Wet Mountain Fire and say, it's gonna be demolished within the next 2 weeks.
Right.
We need action on your part.
Yeah.
Go ahead, turn on the contractor, work with the commissioners. We will say what the total overall bill's gonna be and identify whether we have those funds to help support it.
See, the problem is, you've got to be able to, you got to coordinate it because you don't want it demolished and then have it. That's the point. That's the point. So get everybody together. Here's the timing. Here's what it is. And here's the money that's left over. Get back.
You know how to handle it.
No problem asking our attorney to draft a letter either, if you feel like you need to do
well,
that.
I think we'll touch base
Give
first.
us one more round of it.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
That's what I got, gentlemen.
Anything else? Any questions?
Nope.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thank
Sorry for
you.
the wait.
Sorry.
Appreciate it. Well,
We were
all right,
early,
buddy.
2 minutes.
Good with Julie Thiessen and the AWAS thing all. I said agreed. I don't know if you- What? Okay, all right, it's fine. I'm gonna call FBI and see if there's any more
Take care.
money to.
See ya.
Be safe.
Thank you for everything.
Next item of business,
I know,
HR
but I can
Finance.
Get more out of AWS.
Thank you. Do we have an HR finance report? I did not find it. Did I miss it?
No. I don't think
Okay.
so. You're
Good
welcome to
morning.
wherever
Ask her.
you like. Okay, then you'll need to grab that microphone over there, please.
Sit there and put that on your lapel, Donna.
Sit wherever you like,
For as far away as you want from the world.
as long as it's in this room, right? You can't go
Right.
back over to your office. It's a lapel mic. We did not get
Hey, what
a,
is the range on these things?
the document we got was handwritten, correct?
Yes,
I saw that.
and I brought a copy for signatures.
Okay.
Uh-oh, now I'm hobbled.
Thank you.
Checks.
So $32,624.96 were the total amount of the handwrittens, the lion's share of that being the telehealth grant for detention of $22,841. That's passed through.
Yes, it's 100%
Yeah.
paid.
Chair would entertain a motion.
I move we approve the handwritten vouchers.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded to approve the handwritten vouchers. Further discussion? Anything else, gentlemen?
Not for me,
No.
sir.
Public comment? Oh, we're in staff report, I'm sorry. So hearing no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of approving the handwritten checks for $32,624.96. Say aye. Commissioner Prince.
Aye.
Commissioner Flower, aye. Commissioner Kanda.
Aye.
Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to gavel. Motion carries. Handwrittens have been approved. I'll sign these real quick.
Little trigger itchy over there.
Yeah. Anything else, Miss Donna, while I'm doing that?
No,
We did correct the agenda. Our apologies. You are
Just-
not,
thought it was an announcement
yeah,
I didn't
you,
know about.
I don't think we would do it that way, but
That's
I'm really.
Great
would
way.
make, yeah, would make one,
I never noticed until 3 people asked, so I said, huh. I don't know.
So you sent the voucher report, right? After she got it from Don. Okay. So you come in under Kelly and other times it's clerk. I don't know why, at least on my computer, so I had a hard time pulling it.
Yeah, most of the time for you guys, I try to see
Oh,
it.
that would be good.
If it comes in under clerk, it's I've had them on. I'm in the wrong.
I see.
I did
I have too
receive,
many emails.
I did receive an invoice from Roadside Supplies today. I'll
Ah,
forward that on to
okay.
you. That,
Because it was a confusing
Yeah.
invoice.
yeah, I just thought that was weird that the bid had one quantity of one, but it was really one package for all four or five variable message signs. So I will forward that to you, Miss Donna, right now while I'm thinking about it. Gentlemen, any other questions, or Miss Donna, anything?
Don't have any.
Are you going to be part and parcel of the CIC conversation here in a little bit? Okay. I think they were trying to decide who was going to present. I didn't hear the final decision, but I assumed you were going to be here.
Yeah. just,
I think JD was gonna do it.
Okay. Let me see, hold on just a second here.
Hmm.
Well, I may have to go back. I don't.
Got any problems, Donna? Everybody's happy?
Yes.
How's the HR
everyone's-
side of you doing?
It's
Okay.
COVID, you know, everybody's,
Schizophrenic.
yeah, it's a little odd, but everybody's surviving. Everyone's healthy, so.
Yeah, here it is. I had already filed it.
What are you looking for, Tom?
The invoice.
Oh.
Send that to Donna. And we had already voted to make that purchase, so I guess we're,
And with, in the regular roll or handwritten?
I think in the voucher system's fine. He said it didn't really matter. He didn't care. He's pretty trusting. Huh. And gentlemen, you may not be aware of this. The town of Silver Cliff decided to buy 2 of those variable
really?
message signs. They're going to buy one this month and one next month. So
Very interesting. I wonder why.
Why would they wait?
I imagine it was a fiscal reason to wait.
Well, they were
And I
banking
think
it for
they
them. They don't
were,
have to wait.
well, they've got to pay for it.
Yeah, no, but we don't pay for it until we get it reimbursed.
Yeah, I don't know. He just said they were buying 2.
Yeah, that's
One this
cool.
month and one next month, so I sent you that invoice, so,
perfect.
okay, all right, thank you, ma'am, appreciate it. Okay. Treasurer's report,
Sneak back. Afraid of us.
You know, for whatever reason,
I don't think we do unless this is it.
I don't have it. Or
Yeah, it's
this morning,
DOC,
I
comes
saw
up with a document, something.
what's it called?
Mine came out as doc 000 PDF.
We'll have to find it because
Okay, I can forward it to you if I need to.
I'd appreciate it. Thank you. That'll make it easier. Thank you.
Yeah. It just amazes me how things seem to go off into no man's land, you know, and particularly when you're trying to find something right then. Like, oh my gosh.
Well, I pay attention.
Well, I try to as well, but
Oh, there it is. I do have it. I'm
Okay.
sorry. You want me to email it to you?
no, I've got it.
I didn't see it. Did it come in today? Maybe that's why I don't look at my
I
emails.
already had mine in my board packet, so I don't know when it came in. Oh, okay.
Okay, that's why I missed it. That's okay. Good. I'm glad I didn't just blow it off because I can do that.
I would move to accept the treasurer's report.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to accept the treasurer's report. Discussion.
Yes. Why did she not come talk to us about it like she always did?
COVID.
This.
Oh, because, okay,
Yeah,
that's
why I
good
said
enough.
she was
That's
afraid.
good enough.
She prefers not to.
I don't have a problem with that. Last thing I want is someone to feel uncomfortable. Okay, I'm assuming there's nothing on here that is jumping out at us, so we would have known about it.
Yeah, she said if we had a question, we could call over there. I didn't see anything that was, I wouldn't probably know it anyway for crying
I'm
out
fine.
loud.
No, that's the problem. I'm fine with it too. Okay.
Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of accepting the treasurer's report, say aye. Commissioner Prince,
Aye.
Commissioner Flower, aye. Commissioner Kanda.
Aye.
Motion carries. Answered my question.
And by asking about Miss Virginia coming in here, I was not, I didn't do that in a disparaging way. I was more
Yeah.
It
curious.
didn't come across that.
Okay, that's good.
No, no problem. Okay. IT, I don't know where that guy's at. He's hard to keep track of. Oh, there he is. Hello, sir. How are you?
How are you?
Are you about as tired of VOCC meetings as you could be?
It's an adventure every
Yeah.
day.
Well, I think we're gaining. We really
Yes, I
are.
think so. I think we're
It's a
moving into a good
treat every
space.
day.
There you go.
We
There you go.
appreciate your efforts on our behalf, truly. I had a quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
Because I told Mayor Winkie I would ask you unless he called you yesterday afternoon.
No.
Could you give us a general price on the lapel mics per unit?
The lapel mics were about $250 for the whole system.
Okay. He was
And then
asking, they need some help over
The
there.
lapel mics
contacted him,
themselves
so.
were part of a whole system with a box and a transmitter, the whole deal. So I'll get them the information.
Yeah, if you get a
as soon as we're done
chance, you might connect with Paul there.
Okay.
They're struggling over there at West Cliff Town Hall
All right.
meetings. He said, man, he's having a hard time hearing and I don't know
Okay.
what they're thinking about, but
He doesn't
Understood.
care about broadcast. He cares about hearing it in the room.
Okay, that's the easy one.
Yeah,
That will work. Yep.
yeah,
All
okay,
right.
good. Okay, what's on your plate, sir?
Yes, sir. You had a,
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
I-
I'm just curious, this is our second day,
uh-huh.
and so far, there hasn't been a public comment come through the headphones.
There's been no public comments at all. No one's unmuted
Okay, I
themselves
was
at all
just
to speak.
concerned someone's going,
Right.
listen to me, and we're not hearing them. That's what I was
Right.
concerned about.
I feel like it's important to pause,
Right.
that pause so that people have that time. There are 4 people currently on the call and no one's unmuted for public comment yet.
Perfect. Thank
So,
you very
yep.
much. I was just a little concerned. It's not no, it is a little unusual for me that we have multiple public comment periods and no one's saying, hey, I have a question or I have an issue. So, no, I appreciate it. I'm just concerned that we have transparency.
I understand.
I'll
I
shut up.
feel like it's kind of a sign of the times. It's a little unnerving to have to speak in this forum rather than having someone sit here and ask questions. I've noticed that we, the one that usually sits here, the reporters haven't asked anything.
Right,
So
yeah.
Yeah, where are the reporters, man? That's kind of odd.
Well, they can be watching a live stream or,
They're not even on.
They might listen to the recording. I mean,
That's kind of weird.
they certainly report on us, so they're paying
And where
attention.
they're reading it after the fact, I guess.
speaking of which, are we live streaming?
Yes,
today?
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
And actually, interestingly enough, the live streaming through the Zoom, live streaming as the Zoom conference to open media to YouTube is actually pretty much, I'm not going to say seamless because that would destroy us all. It's actually a lot more bug-free than using the old system. So we may transition to that even in the future for live streaming.
Sounds good.
The only other thing that we're working on right now is Alex transitioning out, and we're working on documenting all of the work that he's done as PIO so that we can figure out a way to move forward with that position. So, yes, sir.
You and I had a conversation about whether we feel this is appropriate time to seek a replacement for Alex or wait. And I want to know if you had any different comments on that, just to report to the commissioners on how you feel about it.
Well, nothing's really changed. We are, things are busy. Things are busy in a lot of ways. And I don't know if we need the full-time help like we did, and Alex was full-time as assistant IT and PIO assisting the OEM. So moving back into the IT, that's going to be a part-time deal. So.
I had asked you about a phone for our CARES.
Yes, sir. I do have
CDR.
one phone.
Okay.
It's a deputy phone. So but I don't think that they're hiring a new deputy anytime soon. So we can use that in that,
Okay, what about Alex's?
situation. What's that?
Alex's phone?
Alex is not using a
Okay.
PIO phone. No.
Okay.
He's used his own phone.
So just let us know if the
Okay.
deputy needs it back. And
No,
we need to
it's not
replace it.
assigned to a deputy at this time. It was assigned to a
just an
deputy
extra
that left and hasn't
Got it.
been reassigned yet. So I do have one. I will clean it up and prep it for the
Sounds great.
CARES Act
CDR.
coordinator. Okay.
Right, yeah, and we gotta be
Brandon,
careful.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, he's not the CARES Act, well, I guess he would be the CARES
Relief
Funding
fund.
Act coordinator.
Relief
Okay.
fund
Yeah.
coordinator.
You're right, CARES Act, not COVID.
Okay.
We're trying to make sure we have a line between those two jobs.
Yes,
or
nomenclature
positions.
is
So,
important.
Yeah,
It's
and
very
you were
important.
right, actually.
Yes.
It's confusing for
Yeah.
us. It's
Indeed.
got to be
Yeah.
confusing for the rest of the world too.
So, yeah, appreciate that. Thank you.
All right.
We'd like to get him up
Good
and
job.
running as soon as
Okay.
we can, because he's getting his
Yep.
marching orders from that committee and he needs a phone.
Understood.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Really appreciate your thoroughness and attention to detail, and you're willing to drop whatever you're doing and jump on something. I hesitate to ask you to do stuff because I know that you will think it's of critical importance and you'll do it. And sometimes I probably need to say, we don't really need this right now, but I just want to thank you for that. You
I
are
appreciate
very
that.
good
Thank you.
at doing
You
what
really
we
are.
ask, and when we ask, council has a comment?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Vernon helped me last week with the core request relating to the sheriff, and I thought that was all taken care of. I got an email from the gentleman who'd made the request saying he thought there were some things missing. I sent it to Vernon to see if he would just, communicate directly to find out what this guy thinks is missing. And Vernon wanted to check on the propriety of him doing that. He said he was gonna check with Kelly, and I guess, if we all, or if you agree, it would be most efficient for him to communicate directly, try to figure out what the alleged deficiency is. That'd be a lot better than me being a go-between.
I don't.
As you know, there's
really-
a deficiency if he hasn't got the data.
He did get it.
Be-
Yeah, but what's he
Because-
looking for?
Well, whatever he's
Because-
looking for must not have been in it,
That's right.
The, from what I've been able to ascertain, this was only one of many core requests. So if you have a plethora of information and you're cross-referencing, you can fill in holes.
So maybe there's another-
Yeah,
I'm
so,
sure that's what he's
yeah.
doing.
so I wanted to check with Kelly and find out if I can communicate with it, if there's a precedence for that, or can I communicate directly with the core requester?
No. In that, I'm not the main Cora person.
Okay,
Who is?
Well, our core policy says she is right now.
It does, and I kind of would like to change that. Because I get core requests weekly. Right now, I'm getting core requests after core requests.
wow.
And so I got my own I gotta deal with. And then when I get, like when I got his, when I get somebody else's, I gotta get it to them and
Right.
all that. I think we did.
72 hours. So.
Did it, put it in the policy so that there would be one person for it to go
Right,
to?
how else would
But
we
I
know?
was actually looking at one of the other counties' Cora policies the other day, and it says in there, send it to who you want the information from. If you want sheriff's information, you send it to the sheriff. If you want, I get a lot for finance, so I just send them on to Donna. I think it should go to the person that it needs to go to.
If I may, just a suggestion, I think the PIO would be the perfect place for the request to come to, and then that person could disseminate it to the appropriate party.
Well,
But if the PIO is gone for a week or something, then we're,
Just
Way
back up
behind.
for anybody.
Yeah,
we
and
need to
I-
figure out who's
Um,
handling it.
I actually pursued legal counsel on this for the very first core request that I received. And they said that it's important to remember that wherever the core request goes in the first place, where it ends up, it needs to be a party that is not relating to the information that's being requested. So if the core request is for a commissioner, then it can go to the commissioner himself, or whoever it's going to. But then it has to go to someone who is outside of
like
that,
a third party.
a third party. Otherwise, it's a conflict of interest for the information.
well, if that's true, I'd love to pass on all
Yeah,
my
no
core
kidding,
requests.
huh?
And I don't see, I mean, because we're getting them statewide, the clerks
Wow.
are right now, and we're all doing them ourselves because I don't know who else would, I know where my records are, and so I don't know who
Right.
else would do them.
Yeah, and I struggle, and we talked about this the other day, and I struggle a little bit with this third party thing. If somebody has a core request for me as a commissioner, who do they expect to get that information from, for crying out loud? I would expect to get it from the commissioner.
So the legal precedence is that it goes to the custodian of records.
Okay,
And the custodian of records for the commissioner is actually the clerk.
okay, but I'm a
Right, so,
custodian of my own records.
Right.
I've got a
that's-
bunch right here in my mailbox.
And ones that have come to the commissioners, I just pass on to them because unless it's something that, something in the minutes or something that I can do that way, but,
I think this is a part of a larger conversation.
Yeah, I do too.
We have
I
to
agree.
remember the conflict of interest, but we also have to remember the the custodian of the information too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and for obviously technology information, that would be you.
Right.
There's a lot of information that's not technology. Now who's a custodian? Those are the kind of questions I think need to be answered, and we need to get those in a policy. I just assumed that if somebody filed a Colorado Opens Record Act, I knew right now the policy said it goes to you. I assumed you passed that on
Mhm. I
to
do.
whoever it was. The last time we got one, Vern handled all of it. Well, he handled all the technology. That doesn't mean the request was for every document pertaining to a particular subject.
That's right. It has to be focused. If somebody wants some information on an issue, you don't give every record we got on everything. It's got to be focused on, I want to know
Well,
everything
yeah,
about,
and the law states that.
about the health board or something, you know.
Well, and it's
But-
gotta be in, you can't, they can't Cora request, and correct me if I'm wrong, what's your name? Clint.
We've always called him Clint.
Or Cliff, a lot of people call me Cliff.
But a
Some
Cora,
people call it
a Cora request has to be for written material, and you don't have to come up with, because I know one of the Cora requests I got this year was just a bunch of questions. And I went ahead and answered them, but that's not a
No, it's
true
an open
Cora
records
request.
act.
Yeah,
What's on
that's
record
for
regarding
written,
that.
and you don't have to come up with documents to satisfy their request. If you don't have the document, you don't have to come up
Right.
with that. Is that correct?
Right, and the reason it's set up the way it is right now in our policy is because we have a written form they're required to fill out. That buys us a little time. If somebody sends in a note or handwritten note or something, Kelly's office notifies them, we have a form, here's the form, please fill out this form and submit it. And then it's forwarded on. This particular one actually came straight to me as an email and as a certified letter. I didn't see until yesterday, even though it was sent out August 13th. So I'm glad that I got the email on it. I decided to just go ahead because I know Shannon doesn't keep any of his own records. He just always says, go to Vernon and Vernon will dig everything out.
See, and I'm not sure that's right.
Well,
I
don't know if he.
For technology, I won't argue that, but not every record is technology. I mean, I just have a hard time buying into that.
The policy states that every department head is their own custodian of records. That's what the policy states right now.
Okay, so that's where the Cora request ought to go to then. Makes sense to me, but that's not the way it's written in the policy right now.
Yeah,
All the Cora
maybe
requests
we just need
go
to
you. So how about
relook at that policy
how about
again.
a
and-
workshop or something, and we pursue this a little bit as part of a policy
Shannon
thing.
releases right away. It still goes where Vernon can
Right.
get at it for the period
Right.
of time.
But if those deputies are in there handwriting a report, or they have a report, and they have not put it into the computer, Vernon's not gonna have a record of that,
I mean,
right?
that kind of stuff is generally under the Criminal Justice Records Act. It's not governed by the Cora laws.
Right.
The right
Yeah.
reports and things.
I just don't think it's fair for us to automatically dump every Cora request onto Vernon and say, hey, take care of it. They weren't requesting for Vernon, they were requesting for somebody else. I don't know, I just don't think it's fair.
Well, and I'm wondering if the first Cora request that we got for emails from commissioners, the commissioners, I don't remember who it was then, started trying to get them together. And at the time, cannot think of anybody's name now. Chuck was the IT person, and he said, oh, I can just go in there and
Right.
I can get all that information. So I think for email requests, that's where that probably came from.
Yeah,
And it probably is easier for you to get them than.
well, it would be easier
Under
for
most
us for him to get them,
circumstances.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that's the right way to go about it. I don't know. So I think you're right. It's a bigger conversation. Certainly wouldn't be opposed to scheduling a workshop and
agree.
and having some discussion and maybe hammering out some details for revising that policy and then moving forward.
So as far as this particular issue, do you authorize Vernon to talk to the guy directly to see what he's looking for? Or do you want me to be the go-between again and say, be more specific?
Well, I almost think it should go through the attorney, but
I don't think, I can go either way.
I'm fine with Vernon because I trust Vernon to recognize, wait a minute, there may be some legal implications on this one. Maybe it's a privileged communication or something. And in
That's right.
those specific instances, you can refer to counsel, but on
Okay.
routine matters, I agree with Clint. I just think it's just bogs down the system and spends more time with Clint just having to move it on.
So if a request was anything regarding leash laws, and then he gets that information, and then doing that, he sees something on the Forest Service, wild game, blah, blah, blah. Then you can change the request for certain other kinds of emails. That you comfortable chasing that?
Well,
How
if
we
it's
can-
part of the same core request, anything over and above 1 hour, they have to pay for.
Right.
So
That'll stop a lot of it.
Well, I already billed him for $45 for an hour and a half.
Right.
Spent, and he
Right.
said he'd sent the check to Donovan.
Right.
After comparing the request to the other sheriffs, he saw discrepancies, things they disclosed that Vernon didn't find. I mean, that's
So-
where it's going.
again, part of a bigger conversation, but I just keep coming back to Vernon as the center of this wheel. Let's say that somebody submitted a core request for Vernon's IT records. Where's the conflict of interest if Vernon's doing it himself? Same place as if I'd be doing it, right? I mean, that doesn't.
I think
That
I would have to,
doesn't
I think I'd
change.
have to teach, I think I'd have to basically show someone, whether it be Clint or or whoever, where those records were stored and allow them to pull it from my own servers.
Yeah,
It's gonna be neat.
yeah. So I just,
I'll just hand them.
who knows, but
I have no problem communicating. I just wanted to make certain that I was doing things in the right process for this request.
I'm fine with you dealing with this. Is this public record who this person is and what they're after and all that or not?
Well, it's obvious what he's after. It has to do with the district attorney controversy that's appearing right now in communications between various law enforcement agencies about that.
And
Our sheriff's already gone on record endorsing it.
Right. So just in general, is core request part of commissioner's business if it doesn't involve the commissioners? If there was a policy?
I think the commissioners need to set the policy, but beyond that.
Yeah, so
We don't have to
let's
get
say
in the
we
middle
had an approved policy. We probably would never hear about these core requests unless it involved the commissioners or our
Yeah, they're
admin
asking for
assistant,
something.
I
right?
don't hear of them.
I don't hear of it ever,
I don't
except-
hear of them.
a couple times.
Right,
Right.
so,
It takes care of it.
Why are we in the
Vernon
middle of
takes
this
care of it.
yeah.
I just-
Well, for clarification, they just weren't sure what to do, so.
Identifying who the custodian of record is for each elected official and department heads and everything. You can, in a workshop, we can certainly change it
Yeah.
around.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'd say let's move forward, do whatever you need to do to figure it out. If it gets too weird,
Yeah, let me know. I think he's gonna have to disclose what he's got to let you know what he thinks is reasonable.
I'll communicate with him then.
And if he doesn't want to talk to you, he talks to Cliff.
Okay. Thank you for your instruction.
you bet. Anything else for IT?
I believe I'm
Morning,
good.
gentlemen? All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thanks again for all
Thanks,
your
Mark.
work. Hang in there with us. You'll get us trained one of these days.
We'll get through it all.
That's right. Thank you. Yeah, and he's on the call, looks like. So let me get to that.
So we need headphones for that, is that correct?
Mhm. So next item on the agenda of staff reports is OE Office of Emergency Management. Adrian, you're on the call.
don't,
Do you need to unmute him or?
I don't, I can't.
Okay, Adrian, you're muted if you're still on the call.
Tom, I
Alex,
emailed his report to all of you guys this
Okay.
morning also.
yeah, I got it.
Here he is.
Oh, no wonder you weren't. So you're not on the call.
I was.
Yeah, I was talking to you on Zoom when you walked in. How are you this morning? Good, thanks for being here, appreciate it. Let's see here. Okay, it shows you're still on the call.
Yes.
Okay.
You're far enough away if you want to pull it down and talk.
Okay, good.
How does that work? I'm confused.
Because I didn't disconnect from the call when I came over.
Gotcha. From your office? Or-
Yes.
oh, okay, gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, I kept saying, Adrian, are you there? You need to unmute your phone.
I was running over because she said you thought you wanted to have me here in person, so I
Yeah,
came over.
perfect. Okay, we got that cleared up. Thank you. All right, sir, floor is yours.
Well, I think you received my report. I think it's somewhat complete, and it shows how busy I've been the last 13 days. The one part of the position that I think I really need to come up to speed on, and I need a complete overview so I can come to understand how the grant process is actually working. We have records over in the OEM office, but it's just kind of difficult to track what she was doing on her Excel sheets. And when you read the language of the grants, there's a lot of overlap or interaction between the federal government, the state government, and the county government in terms of the grants. So I've asked, and will be asking Christy Coleman to come in to try to sit down with me. But I would like to know which of the commissioners has worked with Meredith or worked with Meredith in the past to get a better understanding of where the county and how that relationship works so that things don't get messed up.
On a grant process or what?
Well, you know, if you go back all the way back to 16, like in the 2019 grant, a portion of Meredith's salary appears to be paid by a grant.
Right.
I don't see that in the documentation, so I'm not certain how that works. I need to come up to speed on what portion of her salary is being paid by grants, what portion of the salary is being paid by the county, so that as I prepare the budget for 2021, I do that, you know.
Christy Coleman
accurately.
ought to have some, on the grant side, ought to have some visibility on that amount, I would think. But I don't know where Meredith kept the record, to tell you the truth.
Well, and that's the concern. It's
Concern.
hard to
Well, I
see
certainly
in the
don't have a
records.
problem reaching out to Meredith
Right.
and asking her if she could carve out some time to sit down with you if you're willing to do that,
And
Adrian.
I've
I think
asked
it's a
her
good
to, and I have asked her to do that, and she is willing to come over and do that, but she's been assigned to these incidents. So she is going to come over and do that.
Okay.
And I think that with a little bit of time with Christy coming over and giving me an overview of how the grant process works, because
She's
there
gonna do
are-
that soon.
Well, I hope so.
To answer your question, in my opinion, none of the commissioners have worked directly with Meredith on the grant stuff. She brought her grant reports to us, kept us apprised of those. We signed off on them when appropriate, and she dealt with that. We didn't work with her individually, to my knowledge.
Correct.
I certainly did not.
That's right.
Let me rephrase that. So I don't know. I think Donna may be privy to some of that information about the salary. what
She would
percent of
know
the
what it
salary.
was, so she could add it to whatever the paycheck was.
Yeah, and
right?
I'm speaking with Donna as well. But I just thought, you know, Tom, I saw your name on some salary reports. And so I
Yes.
thought maybe I could sit down with you to see how that process was
Yeah,
working.
you won't learn any more from me than what you see on
He
those
just brought it in
reports.
there and he signed
That
it.
was
and
part of
asked
her
us to discuss
report,
it.
so we signed off on them that we saw
He
those
signs it.
records.
It's the board that's signing. He's signing for us.
As the chair,
Okay.
so he may not be privy to it, just approving it.
Okay.
I think, knowing Meredith, the professional she is, I'm certain as soon as she can free some time, she'd be delighted to sit down and help you.
Okay, so what I plan to do then is before the submission of the 2021 budget, I will try to get together with Christie and with Meredith and with some of the past OEM people, if that's possible.
Okay, you got to know where they
kind of
stand,
see-
or you can't build the budget.
Because you've got, unless I put in here, I didn't put any of the 2016 grants in there because I believe that they have been satisfied. But we are still functioning in the 2017, 18, 19, and now 2020 grant year. So
Right.
I'm going to spend the large portion of my time in the next week and a half getting a better understanding of how the grant process works. So if you ever ask me a question, then I can articulate accurately exactly where we are. And there's a lot of departments who are drawing out of some of those grants. And I need to understand that process as well. Beyond that, you can see it's been pretty busy. So the learning curve, it's not an inexperience in terms of learning how operations operate, but there's just a lot of things. The other issue I think that is on my mind is the OEM vehicle is still in the shop. They repaired for the 7th time the oil pan, but when I asked them to completely steam clean the vehicle. And so they have kept it again for another couple of weeks because there is a major leak coming out the rear of the engine between the
Main
engine and
seal,
the
huh?
transmission. So it's probably a rear main seal. It could be a transmission seal. It's up on the rack right now. And so they're
Is that a
disassembling
plastic
that.
oil pan?
It was a plastic oil pan.
So it gets twisted every time you take it on and off, probably. And they're gonna.
Yeah. See, unfortunately, Colorado does have a lemon law. And they have done now the same repair for 7 times. And so we might want to ask Clint how the county sits on that.
What does
because
that give us? A discount on the next
Well,
truck, or just a?
it depends what the county's able to negotiate. But initially, if we had gone in with this repair after the 3rd time, the law states that they need to give you another vehicle, or that's part of the negotiation. But the statute of limitation
How long have we owned the vehicle for?
for
So-
more than a year. I mean, there's
Lemon law does not apply.
so it doesn't apply at all. So now we're stuck with a vehicle that's been down more than it's been up.
Well, if it's a main seal, those go, they're not hard to fix, but it costs some money.
So Pharisee brothers or Pharisee boys, they're doing as best as they can. I'm working with the service manager. He's been really good. And they inherited from Pueblo Ford. And so they're trying to do as best as they can to get the vehicle up and running
That's in Canyon City.
in Canyon City. So
You know, usually even if statute of limitations is gone, just as good customer relations.
They want to try to
They
do their
might
best.
Work with you and take it back under the limit.
Yeah, and take a deal as long as we buy it from them.
and so we might come to that point. I can't say that we will.
The 7 times for the same offense. I mean,
Yeah.
same defect. I think it's
Pretty
not
bad
going to come
deal.
to that. It has
Well,
come to that.
Well, they're working with me as long as they're working. But
The first one was within the lemon law period,
yes, it was.
so,
First 3.
yeah, I mean, that's, I think you could make that apply, but I think they can work with us on it without us having to get tough about it.
And your county cell phone 269 number? Okay. Ends in 52. Thank you. Wanted to
Okay.
make sure I had the right.
Yep.
Right number. So I have a couple questions for you, if you don't mind, sir.
Yes, sir.
Or you can finish up and then I'll ask.
No, I can take
Um,
questions.
So on the second page, now I gotta find it again. Yes, second page, August 23rd, if you don't mind educating me on what AQ Health.
So air quality index is
Okay,
where
thank you.
what the
AQI.
AQI
Thank you.
would
And
be.
then on the last page, August 26th, ARES folks.
ARES,
Yes.
amateur radio
Okay,
emergency
gotcha, yeah.
services.
They've got their
Mhm.
equipment up on Lookout Mountain.
Yes,
Amateur radio equipment services.
emergency services.
Emergency services, thank you.
And They're based in Canyon City, and when we had the incident and activated the EOC, since they provide supplemental communication, and actually they can communicate directly with the Pueblo EOC, we had them come up and then test their capabilities.
You know, Tom brings up a good point. You've got a lot of acronyms. Anytime you do it, spell it out the first time.
Well, I thought it was
You know,
good.
you know that. You've done
I
those,
thought it
right?
was good for me to throw some acronyms at you guys.
Are you
because-
testing us?
Yes, because you guys throw a lot of acronyms out,
If
so.
I
we-
may then, on August 26th as well, CSER.
Okay. Oh, the search and rescue.
Search and rescue.
Oh, okay. Normally, we just have always called that SAR. That's what threw me.
Okay.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Custer search and rescue.
Yes. So,
Emergency rescue.
Okay, anything else, sir?
no, do you have any questions on anything that's in the report? Any of you? It's been a busy 13 days.
Well, I'm glad you're getting out and getting familiar with everything, which is good.
The one thing on
Good
the,
energy you've got.
the project that Guinevere is working on, did you note my comment on that? That on a scale of 1 to 10, there's definitely some 10 projects out there where fire hazard mitigation is definitely needed. But there are some projects that you have to
Point out
ask.
the issue on that.
Well, the fuel loading's basically zero. There is no risk of the house ever being impeded on by fire, and yet they were included in the proposal. And I just, the guidance that I gave from a professional forester perspective and a fire management perspective is that there are other residences that are higher on the priority list of needing mitigation than some of the ones we have selected. And
How'd they get selected?
I think they have a process, and I think Gwen's the best person to ask
They
about that.
They got the fire guys or the forest out there.
Well, but when you have ground layer that is less than 12 inches, and we're going to scrape that away and create an erosion hazard problem, we ought not be doing that. So I'm going to just kind of monitor it, give some advice. And I have a lot of experience in fire mitigation coming out of California. So that was just something that we need to just monitor a little closer.
And then on, if I may, sir, on August 25th, you say you interviewed and hired a volunteer OA. This is the first I've heard of any of this. What
Well,
does OA stand for?
Office assistant. One of the things that you challenged me with when you interviewed me is to build a volunteer organization that can support the office. And so I reached out to a lot of people, and I have a excellent office assistant who's going to come to work as a volunteer in the department 4 days a week. She'll be in on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And then we have another individual, also a
What is
volunteer.
that person's name, please?
Her name is Kathy. Kathy is the OA that's assisting over at the sheriff's office as well.
What's her last name?
I think I had that for you.
I
Putting
can't
in-
help you.
I've
If you
got
don't know
too
that,
many
I
names.
can't help you there.
You got the
Um,
Jews, I don't know.
Haddon.
Hattie? Okay.
And
Thank
then
you.
we also interviewed an individual who's going to come in and assist us with our Facebook page so that we can keep that current and updated and somewhat modernized. And so Jordan Benson is his name.
I'm sorry.
Jordan Benson
Thank
is
you.
his name, and he'll be helping us keep our Facebook pages updated. I also interviewed Lisa Frank. She helped us in the OEC when we or the EOC when we activated it, and she'll be working as kind of a public relations PR asset for the department as well. And then all of our volunteers have completed applications. Those applications have been given to HR, and the people have been screened, and so that we know there are no issues with their process. And the reason we needed to go through that process is that if a volunteer is injured, then they're going to be covered by the county's liability insurance as a volunteer.
Okay, thank you.
Any other-
Anything else? Any questions for Mr. Washington? Washington?
None at this time.
Okay. So you did complete the 700 and the 800 classes, huh?
I completed the long, very governmental process of preparing to take the exams, and I'll take the exams probably in the next day or two. I needed to get this under my belt first.
Cool, very cool.
And then I'll start the executive management series next week. And I hope to do one of those series per day for the next 7 days, and then I'll have that out from under my belt too. I didn't realize how bureaucratic FEMA was.
Wait a minute,
they're,
you,
very
you were
interesting
more
agency.
bureaucratic in California.
All right, anything else, gentlemen? If not, thank you, sir.
Well, thank
Appreciate
you for having
coming
me.
in.
All right.
Continued good luck. Hopefully, we won't have any more big incidents in the next few days.
Anything you need from us that we can help you do your job better?
Visit the office.
Okay,
And I'll show you what we're doing. over
good.
there.
What do you know about the statewide fire ban, Butch?
Well, given the amount of moisture, we've had over, believe it or not, 5.5 inches of rain in the valley in the last 8 days, which is substantial. So I think you'll see the U.S. Forest Service and the state reducing the fire danger rating. I think the state went from a 1 to a 2, and you'll probably see them go to a 3. I know the U.S. Forest Service sent out email last week that they lowered their fire stages down to 2, and I wouldn't be surprised with the amount of moisture that we've gotten.
Yeah, I wanted to get a hold of the sheriff and the fire department and find out what we're doing. Valley, I've been getting a lot of calls on they want to burn some, ranchers want to burn some of the piles. I do too. So we're gonna have to see what the county's doing.
But I will say, in Custer County, the winds can come up and change conditions.
Sure.
Right away.
Yeah, I
It'll
don't
dry
see
out
us-
really quick unless we get after it.
I don't see us changing it right now. Not, maybe if we get some snow, but.
We had snow yesterday morning.
Yep, on Horn Peak, there was a lot of snow.
All right, sir, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mhm. Good report, sir. Okay.
JD, as I live and breathe, there you are.
Yes, hi.
Any unfinished business, gentlemen? Okay, we'll move on. New business. First item of business, and we'll allow for public comment on these action items, is a consideration of a new software program for the county, including the assessor, the finance office, and the treasurer.
Should be a lapel mic there for you, JD.
We have, JD, are you presenting on behalf this morning or by default or?
Apparently, because I thought Virginia, Donna and,
Yeah,
okay,
and
I thought Donna and
she's-
Vernon were coming too.
she's calling Donna right now.
Okay.
There's a lapel mic for you, sir, if you
Oh,
don't
do I
mind
put it
clipping
on?
that on.
Yep.
Yes.
Clint it to your collar there.
I'm assuming Vern's aware of it. Okay,
He's on his
thank you.
way, she said. So hopefully they'll all be here soon. Yeah, I guess where all this started is we've been on the same computer system since 1987. It is not a Windows-based
The
system.
TI-80, huh?
Yeah, well, more or less. Yeah, it's an old IBM system.
Is it?
It is not a Windows-based system. It's causing us some issues. We can do what we need to do, but it's hard to get it updated. Vernon hates it because all the issues he has trying with security and stuff. So our contract is up at the end of this year. So we've been looking at other vendors. And I think,
Got an email with Virginia on it. Excuse me just
Yeah.
a second. I printed off 2 pages of an email and put on your desk this morning.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when we get to that.
and
we'll
I
have
think
that.
that we forwarded you all the information ahead of time. I know I sent Clint the contract information to, the vendor, Co Clifton sent us a standard contract to look at ahead of time. Clint looked at it, I believe he said everything looked good with it, didn't you, Clint?
Yeah, the things I was looking for, make sure that you weren't bound, I mean, it's not a year thing,
Right.
you don't get the financing, you're out of it.
Right. So anyhow, and I put together, we talked to two different companies, Tyler and CIC. I hadn't really planned on talking to Tyler, but he called out of the blue and wanted to bid because we had talked with Tyler before, and they have a pretty quality product, but the price was so high. But he said he can get it down, and he did do some stuff. So I put together a little spreadsheet. Let me pass this out to you guys. That would show, if you don't mind passing that around, Jay.
Happy to.
I may have my years wrong, but anyhow, it would be a 5-year deal. And you can see Avenues who we're using now, typically, if we were to renew with them, they do a 3% increase every year. Wouldn't you say that's right, Donna? So here's,
What's renew with them mean? Just continue?
if we continue with them, we usually do a 4 or 5-year contract. And in that contract, it says that every year it'll go up 3%. So based on that, you can see the total cost over 5 years for Avenue would be 422. For CIC, the new company that we're talking about going to, would be 419, and for Tyler would be 572.
What-
the,
Just a quick one.
Yeah.
Does the two new proposed ones mean new equipment?
No,
So it's just repairing and doing what we got with the current system?
we have our own equipment. It would
Right.
be
It's
new
all
software,
All software based?
all new software, all training, all conversion of our current software into Windows-based, all that is included in these prices.
Go ahead, Vern, you had a comment?
Servers that would service would be housed off-site. There's nothing that would change with our on-site situation.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
And then this would be the initial 5-year contract. After that, and I think this is on the email that Tom printed out. After that, you can see like in 2025, 2026, it would drop to 48,000 per year from 85,000 per year. And the reason for that is the software and the conversion and all that would be paid off.
Point of
So,
clarification here, JD, if we can
Mhm.
slow down just a little.
sure,
So these figures, even through 2028, that's not per department, that's for all three
that's for
entities.
all
That's
three offices
countywide.
together, correct?
Anybody that's gonna use this system. Thank
Correct,
you.
that's the assessor, the treasurer, and the finance all together,
Okay.
correct.
Good.
And would this include these prices updates on whenever
Yes.
they're necessary?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so at the end of 2028, we're not going to have a totally
Outdated system.
That is the plan, yes, correct.
Got it. Thank you.
The one that we have now includes updates, but they only update it if there's a statutory change.
Got it.
So if the state says, JD, you gotta change how you're doing this, or if anything you gotta change, they'll change their software to do that, but that's all they're gonna do. These guys will do changes, you can make requests if they think it's gonna be valid statewide, they'll talk to other counties, and if they say, yeah, we want that, then they'll include it in there at no additional cost. But if it's something specific that you want just for your county, you might have to pay for it, but yes, it's updated and ongoing.
And
And the initial contract, that's what I printed out here on the spreadsheet. But after that, you can see that it would drop to, and he said, don't quote him on this because in 5 years it might change a little bit, but you can see it would drop down to like 48,000. And that would be because the conversion costs and the software costs and all that are rolled into this first 5-year contract. After that, that's all paid. We own the software. It would just be updating, support, training, that
So
kind
they're
of
actually
stuff.
financing it over the first 5 years.
Correct, exactly, Bill, exactly. And then after that, it's just and so you can see that it would drop significantly after the first 5 years, whereas the current system we have doesn't.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a little cheaper. In the meantime, it's gonna be what I personally think will be a better system. And after 5 years, it's gonna be much cheaper. Now, I don't know how Virginia and Donna feel about it, but that's my opinion, and they asked me to talk first.
well, we'll give them an opportunity to speak to this as well. So JD, can you talk about ownership, or were you planning on talking about that? Of this
Ownership
software,
of,
of the software itself?
well, like I say, that's financed over 5 years. At the end of the 5 years, we own the software and all the conversion and everything. And then, but in order to maintain it and get support and that kind of stuff, That's what the 48,000 is for down the road. As Bill said, they financed it all in that first 5 years, the software cost, the conversion, all that. Then we own it and it's just maintenance, training, support, updates. Exactly.
So Ms. Donna, a question for you. We talked a little about this coming out of what account?
Based on the fact that the sales tax is really
Click at your mic, please. I'm sorry, and I think it's so important that the public hears what you have to say, Donna. Thank you.
our sales tax has increased.
Hold it close to your lips there. It won't work.
Yeah, you
It
gotta
won't
put it right.
You gotta get it right up there. Well, hold,
There
you
you
can hold,
go.
you can hold it. You can hold it.
Or you can use this one.
Is our sales tax has increased because people are shopping at home more. And so I am right to date, we have an extra 50,000 in our capital outlay. And Virginia called Sam DiNardo for me and he said we could absolutely, what was it, 57,000? I can't remember what. It can absolutely come out of capital outlay, so it will make no impact on the general fund. But that's a good expenditure. The monthly premiums from then on forward will be where they are now in each person's data processing line item.
Well, they will actually go down in 2021 because this 57 or whatever's for that. So, and then it'll go back up after that. Yeah.
But just, you know, a nice.
So we got a plan where the money's coming from.
And we would have it in capital outlay this year to be able to, if that was the decision to start whenever they wanted that immediately or.
Okay. And if I may, please, I know we've been involved with this process for quite a while. Just remind me or just confirm to me, the system we currently have is not only outdated, it's not even supported anymore. I mean, this is an absolute necessity. Is that correct?
Well, it's supported, but just barely.
Got it.
How's that? And there's talk of that system going away. There's only, I think, 7 or 8 counties left on it. At one point, there were 35, 36.
Got it.
There's only 7 or 8 left. The programmer's in her 60s. She's talking about. So in my opinion, we need to switch to something. This is just my opinion. I think it is a necessity.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
And is CIC the predominant system that is being used by other counties?
Actually, they are not. Tyler is.
Tyler.
What are you recommending?
Well, I like them both. It's just Tyler's so much more expensive. That
Does it pay for it? I mean, is
Yeah,
it worth it?
CIC is relatively new in Colorado. They've been in Kansas and Nebraska, other states a long time. They've been doing treasure and finance in Colorado. They just started doing the assessor 3 or 4 years ago. Pueblo County's on them, Sedgwick County, Washington County.
Which company did you
JP.
use for these proposed prices?
Well, CIC, that's.
No, I'm talking about this, JD. You
This
got-
is CIC.
That's CIC.
Is that the CIC
That's
layout?
CIC.
So,
Mhm.
so if we went with the other one, we'd see a bit different.
Yeah, it would be a
price.
different breakout, but you can see their total, their breakout for Tyler was, he wanted 28,500 up front. Then it would be 76,500 per year plus 32.3 thousand per year for the conversion and software costs.
So the
So
reason I'm asking the question is there money in it if they wanted to go with the higher price one? It's still covered. If there's some reason why the higher price one would be
It would
better.
be, but we'd have to keep doing that
yeah,
each time. This one is
Right.
done up front and then we move forward with.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah.
So does the benefit of that outweigh the technical reason why you'd want to go with something that's not a startup company?
probably.
That would be something to ask Vern.
Yeah,
Well, they're not a startup. They've moved into Colorado.
yeah.
Right.
They've been in operation for many, many years.
Okay.
The other thing is that a lot of so the assessors, so they don't actually host certain services that we need particularly. They host the assessor, they host certain aspects of the treasurers. I'm speaking about Tyler here. Others, they would actually have to subcontract out, which would make our lives even more interesting with different vendors for different services. Oh, I'm having a problem with this, I need to call Tyler. Oh, I'm having a problem with this, I need to call this.
So you're recommending CIC?
I believe CIC is the better one to go with. Cheaper in the short term, long term, and more interactive and easier to work with.
And we've already got them on all three capability for all three users. Okay.
Correct. And it's like you said,
Virginia.
they're new
Yeah.
to Colorado as far as on the assessor side, but like I said, they already have 3 or 4 counties they're working with, one of them being Pueblo counties on their side. I figure if it works for Pueblo, it should work for us. They're gonna have a lot of issues we won't have.
So I have a question for Virginia, if you can hear me. And this may be way off the wall, so just shut me down if I'm out of base here. I noticed that the interest rate is 6% to finance this over the cost over a 5-year period. And my question would be, would it make more sense if we took from maybe County General and loaned the money to this project, paid back the same amount on a annual basis, and not pay ourselves interest, obviously,
Save some
and
money.
save 6% of the cost of this project? And it really would just be a loan from, I mean, I've done this kind of thing, you know, in my personal life when I bought a house and that kind of thing, so I wouldn't have to pay the ridiculous interest. Would it make sense to do that, or does it not?
It's a good
Well,
thing.
I'm just asking, because if it is, I mean, if that's something that you would support and the other finance folks would support, I hate to pay 6% interest on such an expensive item. If we can borrow it from ourselves and then pay ourselves
And
back
the
on an
payment would be
annual
less
basis.
without the interest rate.
Yeah, I understand, but you wouldn't have a tremendous problem with it if that's something that we wanted to do? Okay.
And I should mention that Co Clifton, the one who drew up the contract and has the figures, is standing by if we had a question for him and you wanted to call. So that might be a question to call him and see what it would change our figures to or something. I don't
Sure.
know.
So just a follow-up question then, I guess I'd ask in general to what Commissioner Candace, speaking of, the down payment is gonna be, originally it was 77, but now that's down to
57.
58,000. What if we paid that 58,000 this year and next year paid the balance of 129,600?
Certainly makes sense to me.
It's basically accomplishing the same thing, but
just
we
you're
don't have to
financing
cough
it,
up the whole 206,000 now.
And it could still be at a capital outlay.
Right.
If we start taking out of the general fund is not the
Right.
place that we have.
That'll still work. That'll work. And we can reduce that by whatever the interest was on that.
Yeah, I think you would
Two-figure.
need to have a finance person, you
Right.
guys or her, talk to Co and see.
So we could,
Well, and talk
rather
to
than try to
Senator
work the
Barlow to make
details,
sure
we can
that
approve
Yeah.
that process. Let them come back and let's see what it is.
Yeah.
So
I agree
I
with
would-
you. I'm just thinking, you know, if we have sufficient funds in the county to loan it to ourselves and then pay it back out of county outlay on an annual basis, we'd accomplish the same thing. We would drain whatever account we borrowed it from, probably general, but it would go back. So,
All right.
I don't know. I'm just trying to say, I'm thinking
So
the
we can discuss
6%
more.
if we could do
I
it.
would move, we accept the recommendation and go with the CIC system, financing it ourselves, and let's get the details on it.
6% savings would be
6% savings,
$12,300.
so I move,
But-
we take the recommendation.
Got your motion, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second it so we can continue
Okay.
discussing them. I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the bid from CIC with the correct term then for a total of $206,875. Is that?
Is that without the interest? Because we're financing it ourselves. Maybe we'd have to,
Yeah, let's see. No, that would probably
That'd
be
be higher.
including the interest,
Right.
so. JD, would the total figure then be 129,600?
I am not sure. I think you'd almost have to call Co and find that out. I don't know.
Well, we don't have to talk,
We don't have to
attach
do
a
that
dollar
here.
amount to it, so.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
we're
maybe-
discussing the motion. I'm sorry. Did I
I'm
interrupt?
trying to get the motion clarified,
I
that's all.
apologize. I
That's okay,
apologize.
no. So it's been moved and seconded to approve the bid from CIC Computer Information Concept to provide a software license. for
And to
Custer County.
finance it ourselves.
And to finance it ourselves. Discussion?
Um,
Go ahead, sir.
My first discussion would be, will the numbers change if we pay cash for the whole project? And we don't know that. I think we need to go, I'm assuming we need to go back to them
Yeah.
because they may have built into a price, including the interest. So it may change. We
That's
don't
right, it
know.
could.
And I think we need
So we
more
gotta deal with whatever
information
they're gonna
before we
propose.
Yeah,
approve this
I
motion.
Could be less.
agree, exactly, because I don't know, I mean, Tom just asked me that, I don't know what it would do, because we never discussed that in any way, shape, or
Right.
form, so.
So our finance folks, Miss Virginia, you guys, you would support us financing it and reimbursing ourselves? Would you be in favor of that?
As
They've
long
said
as
it
the
for-
auditors approve it and that we're not transferring capital outlay funds into funds that we cannot do. That's
Got
what
it.
we need to make sure where we're at, that it doesn't just come out of the general fund, then that 6% would have been a lot cheaper
Right,
to
but-
come out of capital outlay.
But you already asked that question,
I think
as
the
long as it's out of
property
capital.
needs to die
outlay.
until we have our
And that's what,
Capital
so
outlay.
that's the criteria. It has to be.
motion.
So I wonder if, at Jay's suggestion, maybe we should restate or make another motion to just authorize these folks to move forward with.
That's right. That's really what I wanted to
CIC
do.
and let it go at that.
CIC,
So
let it, as long
with-
as they understand they're going to go after a cheaper price by paying us financing it.
So
by
with
whatever process.
respect, if you would consider withdrawing your motion, then maybe we could introduce a different
I'll
worded
withdraw the motion, so
Okay.
I'll
reword it.
second that.
Seconds withdrawn. So would you think it's reasonable if the board authorizes you to move forward with contracting with CIC and consider self-financing? Then the dollars don't get in the way, we're not hung up on a dollar figure, but we can move forward with this project. I'd like to bring it to an affirmative vote today if we can, so you can move forward with that.
Yeah, if I could speak to that, I think if you would talk with Sam and make sure he's okay, and then you or Virginia could talk with Co and see what that would do dollar wise. And then we could let these guys, but we could, that way we could
Just
at
get the
least start
process
moving
going.
forward
And we don't
and
care as
go.
long as they do it the way you've got it
this way
going.
or cheaper, yeah.
Right, that's right.
Go ahead, Jay.
Right. I think what we're trying to say, I'm speaking loud so Virginia can hear me, because I know I have an issue. I think what we're trying to say is we want to give you the go-ahead. We just want to get the details onto what's the most appropriate
Sure.
financial way for us to handle it. And I trust my financial people. I don't know. I was just a suggestion I had. So, yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll move that we authorize our financial folks to contract with CIC with financing details to be determined at a later date once we have additional information.
I think you want to define that specifically. We're trying to finance it ourselves. Let's see how they do it.
Well, I just left it as financing to be determined because when it's all said and done, they may come back and say to us, they're raising
Okay,
the
they're gonna
price
go
of the
the
software
best route.
because the financing
So they go that
was added in and
Okay,
it really doesn't make sense. Let's just let it,
okay.
if we're going to save $1,000, doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't matter.
We're going to save 12, 15, whatever the number is, then it probably does make sense. But that's a decision we can make once we have the information.
Okay, I'll second the motion. It's been moved and seconded to authorize Virginia and Donna and JD to move forward with contracting with CIC to provide software services for the county and to explore financing options to our benefit. Further discussion?
Okay, the only question I'd have, I don't want to hear about it again. We don't have to, we just approve them going down and doing it, is my view, and that's the best route they can. And the top numbers, whatever it shows here, they're going to try to pursue a better financing way. Why do we have to look at it again?
Bill, I would like to hear.
You said
it.
you trust them to make the decision.
I trust them to come back to us.
Well, you
to-
didn't say that. You want them to come back and report so we make a decision whether to authorize them to buy it.
No,
That's what you're
I
saying.
think we authorize them to contract. That was the motion. And then let them come say to us, we feel the best way to finance it is annually through the capital outlay fund or self-support. Let them talk to Sam and the other people who can give additional input, and let our professionals come back to us and say, here's what we think you ought to do. And then we could say, okay, we approve the financing, how they suggest to us. That's how I would like to see it.
And Clint, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it has to come back anyhow, because don't they have to sign the contract?
Yeah. If there's gonna be any transfer of funds. they're gonna
Right,
have to
that's
approve
a
that.
no-brainer.
Okay.
Right.
All
So
right, further discussion? Public comment?
somebody, make a
Second call for public comment.
Okay.
Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of authorizing the three officers involved to contract with CIC and to determine the best financing alternatives for us. Say aye. Commissioner Prince,
aye.
Commissioner Flower, aye. Commissioner Campbell, God dang it. I'm so used to voting
You're just
last.
like to vote last.
Commissioner Kanda,
I vote aye and I see CIC's on the net.
pardon?
CIC's on, listening.
Oh,
Cool.
yeah, Cole probably joined in case we had
Yeah,
any
he
questions.
emailed me and said he would be listening.
Okay.
Good.
And would be available for calls if we had any questions.
Wonder if you could clear that up. right
Now
away.
the motion carries. We will contract with CIC Computer Information Concepts. Thank you guys for your work. I'd just say for the record, and particularly now that Commissioner Kanda has indicated that CIC rep is on, I did set in on a presentation from that company to these folks and thought that they did a good job and represented their company well. Good morning, sir. How are you? Okay.
He's waving.
We'll move on.
He's
Thank you,
evidently
guys.
muted.
Donna, thank you. Virginia, you still out there? Very weird not being able to see you, but
I keep waving to her.
thanks.
There's a voice in my head somewhere.
Thank you guys for your efforts and we'll move forward. You bet.
Yeah, I better be careful what I
Okay,
say. huh?
thank you. Okay.
Looked like he was trying to comment, but I think he has his own sound.
Oh, yeah.
And he's got some wavy thing going in the background.
So the next item of business, consideration of the hiring process for the HR Finance Assistant Director. It had been a little while since we had touched base on this topic. So my apologies, Ms. Donna, for not getting the word assistant put in there. I want to publicly say that was certainly an oversight on our part.
Breakfast.
Okay, see you. So I guess. Truly part of me, go ahead, sorry.
I did send
Yes.
that, but I'm not sure what day that seems like.
It's been a while, yeah. And we had two of them. We had the assistant director position announcement, right? Which I think is what you just showed us. And then I also have HR finance assistant changes, which I believe was the job description with proposed changes in red.
And I believe you sent me that, but maybe send me that one
Okay.
last.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about that document. Maybe we can clean that up a little bit.
Was that sent?
Well, I'd have to go back and look, Jay. Give me just a second.
Should have had it ready for
I-
today. I'm delinquent on
I
that.
received that on 9, oh wait. That's the date I modified it. That's another problem. Sometimes I look for a send date, and if I've modified something, the send date goes away and it's the modification date. So unfortunately now I can't tell you when I got that. I don't think, unless it's dated. But
What was it called?
HR Finance Assistant changes.
I'm gonna. And that was to the job description?
Yeah.
That was where it was the exempt, because I've changed.
Yes, it had non-exempt at the top.
I believe that I have those, but I don't.
Okay. You had crossed out assistant and we put the position title was Finance Human Resource Assistant Director. Non-exempt.
Do you have a copy of this?
Okay, I'll send it to you.
Thank
Give
you.
me
I'm
just a
sorry.
second. I'll send it to her and she can print a copy or I can
There's
send
a
it
copy on
directly.
721 from Jay. It says HR Finance Assistant changes.
Okay, so that's the document I'm talking about.
Okay, I gotta figure out how to get there.
So it's the one on the letterhead, Donna,
Yep.
that I'm referring to. Miss Donna? Okay, all right, good. Didn't know you had it, sorry.
Well, I think there weren't very many, I remember hearing the exempt, and I do, I just copy and paste.
Right,
This is my-
okay, so it should be exempt, correct? So I'm gonna make some changes on this one as we go. Did you find it, Jay?
Is this one that Jay did not have that on it?
I remember Donna really
Says
did most of the
non-exempt
work
here.
on this. I just kind of
So
worked a
it's-
little bit with
so it's
her.
It's
Exempt.
exempt now.
Mhm.
Kudos to you.
Tom had it after. and
Right.
he gave those changes
Yeah, there were
during the
just a
meeting.
couple word changes. I remember that.
Right.
It's like on a payday.
I
Right,
only see that
Would
one.
you send it to me, please?
yeah,
Sorry.
let me save it.
You're doing the one, Don, that you're remodifying, aren't you, Tom? Is that what you're?
I
working on?
am, yeah, if we can all get on the document, so give me just a second and I'll send it to Jay.
Thank you.
And you have it,
I
correct,
have
Bill?
it. Yeah.
Let's see here. And I'll send it to Kara as well. Okay. Oh, yeah, I think most of my stuff was grammatical things.
Yeah, I remember there was something in that first,
Dang it.
but I think I have your changes, and I just did yours, but I don't.
Thank you. I have it now.
Good, well, now mine's gotten away from me, so I'll have to print it up
Want me to
again.
send it to you?
No, I haven't, I just gotta go get it. Okay, so, well, come on.
Okay, got it.
Very weird. I double click on it and my agenda keeps coming up.
Did you let it download long enough? I had that issue just a second ago.
So position title, Finance Human Resource Assistant Director, we're in agreement on that, correct?
Right.
Mm. Are these your
And
job
then-
descriptions here, basically?
And then exempt, introductory period, 6 months, anniversary date, TBD. And then on the last bullet point on the first page, I've already made the correction. I think it was 4, but it should be or, correct?
It is, or that was a typo.
Okay.
Where is that?
The last bullet point, the last word
Should
on
be
the first line.
For instead of.
Shall perform, and it should be perform, not preform. Sorry, I
There you
missed
go.
that.
That's it.
Perform all reasonable activities as required by the Director of Human Finance, Human Service, or the Board of County Commissioners. We in agreement on that?
Yep.
I think it was of, right, Bill?
Yeah.
And then the last sentence on the third page, supervisory, the post-introductory period evaluation will also review the supervisory. So that sentence doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think I understand the intent, but Ms. Donna, you want to speak to that? So the post-introductory period, really post-introductory be hyphenated, right?
We'll also review the what does that really mean?
Will also be reviewed by the supervisor, Donna, or what do you think there? I'm
The
not, you don't have a
post-introductory
feel
period
for it?
evaluation will also what? No, it can't be. Performance reviews. The post-introductory period will also be reviewed by the supervisor, it'd be by you. You should just say the director of finance. This is the assistant director.
Yeah, I didn't have and that's why I asked Donna if she had oh, you know what, I'm sorry, there's another sentence with that bullet point on the next page.
Right. I think it's supposed to say
So,
the post-introductory period evaluation
Will
also be reviewed by the
or
supervisor
just say all will be reviewed.
regarding communications and community
Mhm.
interactive skills. Or we could just take that out.
Or
I don't
what
even know
about-
why that even needs to be in there.
Performance review will be conducted by the director of finance.
I took the word review out and put include,
No, well,
because these are skills that is going to be evaluated on, correctly?
but this is the performance reviews. This position is subject to periodic performance reviews. The review will be conducted by the HR director.
Right, but if you read that entire
For that,
sentence.
with the will include the communications and skills, I get it.
Yeah, see, I didn't realize there was another sentence till I just scrolled down. So if
Yeah,
you read that entire sentence, it changes the purpose of
Right,
that
it
bullet
does.
point. Will also include the review of the supervisory communication and community interactive skills is my
That's right. That's
assessment of
good.
it. But
But
is it necessary? And Don, I look to you, if you had buy-in on this, or if you didn't, then
But this position does not include supervisor at all. That's what it says.
no,
up
it's a
there. So it
non-supervisory
shouldn't be.
position, so supervisory
skills
can
isn't
come out
part
of
of
there,
it.
as far as I'm concerned.
Take it out. We'll
Jay,
include.
your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm fine. Well, the only thing that bothers me is, do we really need to even put in here what the performance review is gonna be? I mean, we've already said what skills the person who's gonna be the successful
Right.
candidate has to
Yeah,
have.
it doesn't need to be in that whole
I
sentence.
don't even know why we have performance reviews.
I don't mind the first bullet point because it does tell the applicant or the employee there is going to be a performance review.
I would take the rest of it
I
out.
would take the second bullet point out.
I agree with that.
You could say
Are you okay
performance
with that,
reviews
Donna,
by the
too?
director,
Donna,
that first sentence.
you good with that? Okay, so let's
Um,
take the second one out then.
Take the
If
second bullet
Donna's
point
good
out
with it, I'm good
altogether.
with it. Let's kill it.
Is subject to periodic performance reviews. Now, there may be a time, there may be a situation where, because this person's going to answer to the HR finance person or the Board of Commissioners, maybe it's not just the supervisor that does the evaluation. That could be determined later
I
on.
absolutely
So
agree with that.
that's, I'm just
Could be.
counteracting what you had suggested about leaving it as a supervisor. Maybe it's a supervisor and one commissioner. I don't know.
Could be.
Yeah, so, can you live with that, Ms. Donna? Just leave that first, this position is subject to periodic performance reviews. Okay,
Because your job description would have included this. I get it.
I do have an issue though I would like to discuss when we're ready.
okay, let's finish this doc
Sure,
then.
that's why I said that.
Yep, are you guys, anything else that you'd like to see changed in here?
40 hours a week, correct?
Yeah, it's a full-time job with benefits.
Does it say anything about benefits? Does it need to?
It doesn't need to. If you're
Per
if you're
month
over-
with benefits, paid monthly, it's on
Okay.
there. Yeah, last page.
Oops, I didn't miss that.
Okay, so
Oh, yeah, got it.
do we want to formally approve this job or accept this job description? Number one.
I've got some comments before we move to the approval, if
Okay.
that's possible.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. One of the requirements is that they have a degree in accounting.
Mhm.
We have discussed the salary for this position, which is high, but it's because we have a bachelor's degree in accounting. I trust Donna to, if an excellent candidate came in who doesn't have a bachelor's degree, but may have a lot of accounting experience, just doesn't have the degree, I would almost like to add in, it says is desired, but I think the salary range should be different for someone who has earned the degree versus someone who comes in with experience.
Unless we make
Agreed.
5 years of actual accounting equivalent,
And
which
I'm
is
fine
true.
with
You
that.
could say that, but
I'm just,
you got to
yeah.
have a base.
Yeah, I mean, I I've had a little pushback from one person who said to me, that's a whole lot more than a deputy for the sheriff gets paid, and why are we paying this person so much money? The deputies get paid so little, and we can't hire deputies, and it's a very valid comment.
Different,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm not discounting that comment at all. And I defended it by saying, well, it requires that salary that we were talking about is based upon having that degree. And in effect, if we don't have the degree, I think it would be appropriate for the salary to be somewhat
So if you
lower.
put it, if it's desired and you get, how do we account for somebody that might have the BA, then you pay them more? Where would you say that in here? So if you reduced
Well,
it,
I think we would say maximum salary with degree is X and maximum salary with, qualifying experience is Y, and come up with two different salary ranges based upon whether you have a degree or not. Now, don't get me wrong. I think a person who has actually worked in the field without a degree may be much more qualified than someone who just happens to have gone through
depends on
school.
how many years service you
And
got.
got their degree,
Yeah.
got a certificate. That doesn't make you a better person in this position. But traditionally, we reward someone for getting a degree. And I recognize that a lot of people just don't have the luxury of going to college, and they shouldn't be penalized for that if the qualifications are as good. But I just feel that, at least in the starting position, the degreed person versus the non-degreed person, regardless of the experience, there should be some salary difference. That's my opinion, but I'm open for any discussion and I'll concur with what you feel. And I really like to hear what Donna has to say because she's the one who's going to do this.
Should we leave it as is and see what we get? I mean, we may have 20 people who have degrees and are just dying for the job. And then if not, that we have to lower to equivalency
But you may
and
get-
then change the salary then.
Okay.
But what if we
I
get
mean, I
a
don't
mix?
know if
That
we can
makes
have our
sense.
cake and eat it too, that sort of sounds.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
I've got, I think the salary commensurate upon education and experience is a good sentence to put in there.
And that's really
That
what
should cover everything you're talking about, right?
Right.
I've got three questions.
Yes.
One is specific and two are a little dicey. Do we have a salary range for this position? I don't remember, we talked about it.
It's whatever you guys had picked that day is on.
We did have a range.
Yeah, we
and-
did.
And if we
50,000
say
is
that,
what
what
we
Tom said
originally
is a good
discussed.
idea, and then the range would cover whether they got X amount of experience or a degree. And can
We
make that
have talked
determination
about
when
so
you-
many salary ranges. I truly, I do not remember
I
what
put
we,
this for whatever you guys had discussed that day.
okay, but
there
I don't
original
have
range
that
on
then,
it?
Donna. I have 40 hours a week, rate of pay, nothing. Mine's
Yeah,
blank.
mine's
So
blank.
can
I
you
have
tell
So
us?
what'd you put?
35 to 45.
35 to 45,000
So
commiserate.
so that's not the rate of pay, the pay's 40 hours per week. Probably then, where's yours at? Where do you have that filled in? After rate of pay
Yeah,
or?
it's on that last.
So
Okay.
how'd you
So-
say it, Donna?
Can you
Did
grab
say,
that, please? Look.
Yeah, that's what I had gotten. And I really-
annually, okay, that's the range.
I
So
really
let's
had
just
thought that you sent me
Okay, I probably did. I just don't have,
No,
that. Because I
This
couldn't
is
have made that
exactly
up.
what
Yeah.
we discussed.
I don't have this language on the document that I'm
Then
looking
I
at.
need to-
So let me just do that. So
But-
rate of pay, go
We
ahead,
didn't take-
Jay.
Yeah, I think we ought to take the minimum hourly wage, maximum hourly wage, and just say annual salary, and then have
And
a
that's-
range.
Or Jay,
And that's what it
rate
just
of
says. I'll
pay
send it to you. I'll
commensurate
give it to
with
you.
experience and or degree is the range.
I'm fine with that, Bill.
And that makes sense.
I'm fine
But then
with
you got the ability to put it wherever we want
I'm
when we
absolutely-
interview.
I think that's where we're headed right now, and I think if it's 35 to 45, and someone who,
Comes in here with a degree,
right, they may end up at fairly close to the top, and if someone who comes in
Right.
with
No
a year or
degree.
two of experience, maybe at the lower end. No, and I think that's the decision that Donna's going to recommend to us. That's
Right.
what I would think.
Okay, let me just, what we're talking about has been done. I just did not have it on this particular document that I'm looking at. I remember talking about it, but
Yeah,
So we got a minimum and a maximum under it. So why do we have the rate of play bank?
That was,
That-
I
that does-
did that on purpose so that people could see what that meant as.
Oh, I see, as a per hour.
Right.
Okay.
And then supervision, finance and human resource director / county commissioners, or no? It
No,
was that, it
she's a
said that
supervisor.
earlier, correct?
She is the supervisor.
That's her job.
Well, then we need to clean this document up, gentlemen.
Well, that's what we're
That's what
doing.
we did. That's what
Well,
we
we
do.
did?
Now, where do we see it up above? I don't think
I don't doubt that.
That's
Don't
the
doubt
problem.
that.
but we don't have any supervisory stuff. See, it says assist and advise the county commissioners. Perform reasonable activities by the commissioners.
It's on the back page after the salary.
Thank you.
After
We
the
still
salary?
have- Yeah, it's on that.
There's another page?
It's on this
I
one.
don't see it here. No,
Yeah, see,
supervision. I
you
got
guys all
supervision.
have-
It should be finance and human resource director. That's who's the supervisor.
That's all I
is.
see on mine,
That's all
and
I
I
got.
agree with that.
Okay.
So can I ask a question? Maybe it's a dumb one, but if we have an annual or a monthly salary or an annual salary, why would we even list the hourly rate?
She says it's because that's how they think.
It was just for people as they were visualizing it and really for y'all, so you
Okay.
could see what that means in real numbers.
Well, the only concern I have, and I accept what you're saying completely. My only concern per hour, and I worked 42 hours last week, I want 2 hours of overtime, and that's not what we do in an exempt
And
employee,
it's just for the visual. of it.
just for knowledge.
It's
And it's exempt.
it's a
and
salaried
salary,
position.
so-
You understand? I'm just concerned if
Yeah.
someone's using
Yeah.
hourly
Yeah, I
number.
kind of agree with you.
I think
I've
it's
never
confusing.
come from a background where salaried employees were ever talked about an annual.
Same
or
here,
hourly
and we
rate.
always here. It's always
But-
been hourly, even when they're salaried. You'll see it on the road
That's
grader.
fucking two
You know,
different things.
they're all different. So
Whatever, when I put a number
I don't
like
think
that,
we need it.
Everybody always asks me how much is that an hour, and I
Yeah.
don't have a calculator.
I don't know why they
and I
care
have
because
to go-
they don't get paid.
I
on
don't
it.
care if it's in there. We'll just
No, I
have-
don't
If
either.
I hire someone, we
But
just.
it was
Let's take it
We're
off
always
'cause they
very
can ask the
clear
question
When we hire
later.
someone that this is an exempt position, which means you're
You're
exempt
saying
from
you want to
overtime.
remove the hourly?
Yeah, let's just take it off there. It's easy.
So we just take that whole block out of
That-
there,
yeah,
Donna,
I would
or
do.
not?
Yeah.
The minimum hourly wage, take that whole thing out?
I'll probably leave the block in there just in case something changes.
All right, so we're gonna take out the dollar amounts. Is that right? Okay. So then back to qualifications and certifications. Get a little anal about this, but nonetheless. So we say that the bachelor's degree is desired, and then there's just 5 words there: high school diploma or equivalency. What about it? Is it desired, or is it required, or what? I say we need to add the words is required.
Yeah, it
Mine
is.
says bachelor's degree in accounting from an accredited college or university is required.
Oh,
See, I have the
Oh.
updated version of what you guys gave me.
okay.
Yeah, you guys are like one whole.
We're one
I-
generation back.
This is the one that
So-
y'all did when I.
So we want
Right.
somebody to have a bachelor's degree. I
So,
don't limit the field. That
I
makes it easy.
Thought Jay indicated in our previous discussion, and you agreed, that you believed it should be desired instead of required.
Well, or that there was a way if someone had experience. That's why I said if we would leave it as it is and then see.
You say required or equivalent something.
And so then that took care of that. So
Okay,
it's just your
and when
choice.
you said that, I was looking at desired. That's the only problem.
You know, in mine
Yours
has
says
it
required.
on
So
there.
do you want it required?
Do y'all want me to go email you the one I have?
I think this
I
is-
would leave it required, and if there's nobody applying, that means there's nobody out there that has
Here's
a
my only
in a
issue with
degree.
that, Bill. I think what you're saying is absolutely correct. But if someone says, you know, we put in required and then there are no applicants and we repost it, they go, gosh, I'd love to have that job, but you have to have a
Right,
degree."
I
Just
might
say
not
required,
read
put
it.
some parens and say, or equivalent time of, in the accounting field or
Well,
something.
who makes that determination?
We do. When you get the application, he says he's got 2 years, that doesn't hack it.
Well, it
He's
might
got
for me. That's
25
the
years.
problem.
He
See,
has 25 years, but it's
It's
up to us
very
to make the
subjective.
decision. That's our
I-
discussion.
I argued for required before, but I understand that maybe desired is a little more relevant. I don't know.
I don't think so because I think her job, as much as it does, would require a
How
bachelor's.
would you like it, Donna?
As long as, then are people gonna complain, well, it said it needed a
Right.
bachelor's degree, so I didn't apply.
I would leave it.
That's
The
what I'm
one
concerned
person
about.
that I have gotten one from so far does not have that, but it did not stop them from getting in for it.
Well, I'll say this.
I don't know.
But we don't know how many it did stop.
Bill, I'll
Well, I
agree
haven't
with you.
posted it, so that was-
Yeah, that's true.
I'll agree with you to leave required in there, but I will not support or vote to hire somebody that doesn't have a bachelor's degree in accounting then. That's it.
Unless we put
We
in
either
there.
mean it or we don't mean it.
That's right, unless we put that we think there's an equivalency, and there is, if somebody had 35 years of accounting experience, it would sure be 2 years of,
Or governmental accounting, because that's like an
Yeah.
entirely different world.
And Tom, I think you're being a little too stringent on it's either it or it's not.
Well, if we put the word required in here, that's
But then
pretty
we
black and
could-
white.
But then we would adjust it and redo it. And my only fear there is that people who,
yeah, that's
know,
right,
would
that you turn
say,
it down.
oh, wait a minute, I don't have it, so I'm not going
That's why
to
you just
bother
leave-
looking at it.
Or
Right.
equivalent,
So-
experience.
I agree. I think what you're saying is if we repost it later and change the word,
They won't.
they won't look at it.
So I'm with Bill. I think we
But-
ought to put is desired and
Well-
just leave it as is desired. But
Let me try something else, because you guys weren't hearing the last part of what I was saying on if I put required, and I've seen this in my experience. If it's required, you can say in a paren or equivalent experience. The equivalent is in your mind of what is required, is equivalent. And that's the debate we have during the hiring process, which we debate on everybody we hire, whether their experience is better or worse than the other guy.
I'm okay with it.
See what I'm saying? So you could go either way. But I think we keep the standard, because I don't have a problem hiring somebody with a lot of experience and nobody else applied that had a degree. That means we don't have to repost this thing. If that was the case. If we put in or
Well, is preferred, but credit for experience, possibly accepted, something like that.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Bill, and I agree with it on the surface. You get down into the weeds, if I'm reading this, I'm gonna say, well, what the hell's an equivalence?
well, they.
I don't know if I qualify for that
Well,
or
and
not.
then, but see, that's up to us then.
Well, I
because
know,
if-
I'm
if he-
saying as the applicant.
I know,
though.
so if I were the applicant and I had 5 years, I'd say, I bet that's enough, and I'll apply. And that puts the burden on us to cut, if 5 years isn't enough, because you got a 10-year guy, that we can cut him without
Okay,
any legal issues.
So I changed mine, just to throw this out. Bachelor's degree or equivalent experience in accounting or human resources from an accredited college or university is required.
okay. I'm gonna change the word desired to required, because that's what we talked about. I've got a question then to all of us. So if we have somebody comes in with 15 years of human resource
gonna go the
experience
same way.
and absolutely no accounting experience.
But we got a degree
Wouldn't work,
required.
would it?
That's right.
So I think, even though it is a human resource finance position, I think the
Accounting is what you
requirement should
want.
be on accounting and not worry about the human resource,
I agree with that.
unless
I mean-
you feel differently.
Let me ask that, because I was gonna bring up the human resources side of it. The likelihood of finding an accountant with human resources experiences is zero.
Unless Donna applies for the job.
Well, yeah, because how did you get there in the first place? You know, it just happened because you
Yeah,
evolved.
they
And
just
so how much weight do you want to put on HR?
I
Because-
don't mean to diminish it, but I'd say not much compared
That's
to
right.
finance.
That's exactly right.
handle their own
Right,
99.9%
Finance,
of the time.
right.
And so.
That's why you want to leave bachelor's in accounting in there as a requirement.
So I would suggest then, Jay, bachelor's degree or equivalency in accounting
Right,
from an accredited college, take out or
Correct.
human resources.
right.
I
Yeah.
took it out on mine already.
Yep.
'Cause your
Wow.
point's well taken.
Yep.
Jeez.
And the human resources.
Okay,
maybe-
then I think it should say high school diploma or equivalency required. That's an incomplete
That's
Absolutely
sentence,
true.
really.
That's true.
is required.
And then
Colorado
I think
driver's
it
license
should
is
Now,
required.
so you're gonna tell me that you're gonna force me to have a Colorado driver's license, and I will
Say,
take you to court
too bad,
for discrimination.
because we do that for voting today.
Doesn't matter.
We
I'm-
do. We do it for background checks.
You can't
So-
tell me that they can't do a background check without a driver's license. I know they can. So I just
Oh,
question that.
here's how you handle it. Or a Colorado ID.
I would think a Colorado a state issued
A
Colorado
state-issued ID,
identification.
because there are a lot of people that don't drive. Maybe
Right,
there's an accountant out
exactly.
there that's crippled.
This person could
Doesn't
walk
have a
to work,
driver's
right?
license.
The Amish.
A horse, I drive a horse, but I don't.
Yeah.
That's true.
I think it's discrimination to say they have to have a Colorado driver's license. What if they have a Texas driver's license?
No, I think it's even worse than that.
Why don't we just
Tom.
add or other
or
governmental issued
a
identification?
I'd say Colorado. Why would we not? Why are you saying Colorado driver's license?
Well, they may not live here yet. They might
The
live in
requirement to have
Louisiana.
this job is they have to have one.
No, well, it would be here,
They
yes.
have to live here in this state to have a job here.
We don't have that in this job
Or in this
description either,
county.
do we?
All the other people we've ever hired have to.
Yeah.
We're not gonna allow anybody to live in Arizona, right? Or in
Some of
Pueblo
our
or-
job
it's
descriptions say you must be a resident of the county. This one does
There
not.
are, yeah. There
So
are.
I would
Fremont.
prefer to have a valid Colorado identification.
Here's what I wrote. Colorado driver's license or other governmental issued identification is required.
Yeah. Well, I think we've limped along from my perspective.
There ought to
and
be a
just say,
count-
yeah, we'll just make them have a
Count
Colorado driver's
people
license.
out there, no.
September 11th, I lose 17 days vacation again. So I'm hoping for next year at this time that will not have happened.
Colorado driver's license or,
Other governmental issued identification is required.
Formal government ID,
or other government
whatever you said.
Let it go.
Jay,
Identification.
will you send it to me by the time I wrote on this?
Yeah, I'm gonna send this back to you. And I added the word is required after high school
Right.
diploma or equivalency
Yeah,
is
and that's
required.
why we
to
need
make
to
it a
add it to
sentence.
this, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
That's why I added to this one too.
So how
Um,
are we gonna handle it? This is just thinking ahead. So we get people in here and they're only accountants. How are we gonna, then we're gonna ask them in the interview process. So you ever had any HR experience? Or can you handle or working in personnel issues?
Or they'll have to be trained or learn it because it's a requirement of the job. It's a responsibility of the job.
Well, how do we say this? That's why.
I'm gonna lean heavily upon my director to tell me this is the person I would like to work with or not. And assuming they meet the minimum requirements. That's how I feel. I mean, I'm not gonna work with this person. Donna is, and I think Donna should take the lead on saying, I like person A over person B. Hopefully we'll
Right.
have two candidates to even choose from.
Okay, look at the last sentence of that first page where we took the pre-form and made it for there.
Perform.
It says human service.
Mhm.
So what does that mean?
Well, the title is still going to be Director of Finance and Human Service.
Services, what is it? Resource services. It's not human service. That's
Oh, I got
that's a
you.
waiter.
I see. Human Services down the hallway. So Human Resources, you're saying.
This is an HR position. And
You
so
see what he's talking about,
Yeah.
Donna?
Yeah, I changed.
Okay, second,
He's right.
first page, bottom bullet. It had Human Services. It was just a
it
typo.
actually has human service
See,
on
my
mine.
first bullet point says yearly insurance and bids. See, that's why I've been lost from the get-go.
Jesus.
We're on a different document.
See, I have the one that has been done at one of the board meetings, so
Okay.
I'm.
And I thought
Anyway.
this was the one we did at the board meeting.
I'll bet you though, the
Obviously,
last
it's
sentence on that page, it says perform all reasonable activities as required. Isn't that on yours somewhere?
That's like 4 up.
Okay, wherever it is,
But see,
Well,
and
then
at the
read it.
top
Read
here,
it to me.
That was wrong also.
just read
No.
that bullet.
Perform all reasonable activities as required by the Director of Finance, Human Resources, and the Board of County.
Human resources
we-
service or not?
Human Resources.
Donna,
Okay.
you and
See,
I
ours had
had
service.
it, after we did it the first time, you came up with a couple things and I said, absolutely, those need to be included. I don't know whether if they're on the.
I think
one
you
on
better
the- I don't
integrate what
remember
you've
they
got
were.
now.
See, I need to send you all
Okay.
Oh, man.
So would you
Take-
guys be willing to take another stab at this so we get away from
Sure.
this 2 or 3
Take the one that
different
we've edited,
documents?
make sure she can integrate them, see what's different, and let's come back.
I'm gonna send you the one I have. You wanna put them together, or would you like me to either way?
That's, I mean, I think this one was pretty close, but then we changed a lot of other things. that
Right.
weren't mentioned the first time.
So,
The IDs and all that. So if I
Right.
take this one and add
Right.
those new ones, I think
Okay.
we should be good. And then I'll send it to all of you.
Okay.
so food for thought here, the reason I brought that up is we have an unusual animal here. It's a finance and human resource services. We're putting all the weight on the finance side of this.
Only by a degree.
That's right, by degree. And then, but where do we should ask for human resources experience?
Interview, I guess, yeah.
Right?
Or we say, wherever that statement was,
You want experience in human resources or no experience willing to
Preferred.
train,
we could put preferred.
maybe?
And huge amounts of the HR part of this is the insurance and the management of the insurance.
Right.
As far as disputes and things along that line, they're very few and far between.
But you
because
see,
we have good elected officials. But when that comes to light, I
See-
contact
see,
CTSI.
all
because
government-
they
that's
have
right.
The attorneys.
all
that will
government,
look at not
Qualifications
making
that's
and
right,
the reasons
HR is a
why
big
it's
deal
against
in the world. And there always has to be an HR person,
Back up.
bachelor's
present when there's
degree
a-
or
an employee,
assuming it should say
supervisor
accounting
issue,
experience
and you
or
have
equivalence.
authority.
That's my
But
question.
we don't do that.
We just don't have those we just really don't have those kind of issues here. It's very seldom. We do.
And part of
once
it
in
is to
while,
make sure that a
once
boss,
year.
the other part of that is so a boss doesn't say
Yeah, you wanna
something
say it?
I
bad
said
to an
bachelor's
employee.
degree
That's
or
why an HR
accounting
person has to be
experience
in the room with.
equivalency.
And usually, if somebody thinks that they
From
call
an
me,
accredited-
the supervisor calls me.
That makes
If
sense.
I don't know the answer, I call CTSI. We get the information so that no mistakes are made.
Right.
And that's,
Yeah.
you know, it's,
Okay.
I mean, we
Really
have a
the big
good
deal is
quality group of people. It's not like we just,
Right.
you know, a bunch of
Do,
crazed people.
do we
Or
need,
Custer County.
do we need to put the requirement in here, this person needs to be resident of the county? The last two jobs we,
Prefer it, but-
last
but
two
you know,
jobs
if
we
it's not an
posted
emergency
said that.
thing, and, you know,
That's why we do it for
right.
OEM
They
and
could
public
be
health.
Down on the other side of the mountain when there's a fire.
Yeah, I mean, they could live in Morfino County and drive up here to work, I guess, huh? Well,
Then we don't
What
have-
happens if
Hell.
they're not here?
we got a road and bridge employee that doesn't live in the county.
But
So-
but that road and bridge guy is
Mhm.
responsible for his piece. This person's responsible
Yeah,
for
right.
a whole big picture. So if that person can't get to work when she's gone, it could be a major problem for
Yeah,
her.
I understand why we did it for the positions we did it now that you mentioned
Yeah,
that.
just in case the fire
Right.
let them blocked out, and that.
But we got deputies, we got road and bridge employees, they don't live in the county.
Right?
But our road and
They're
bridge
not critical.
supervisory has it on theirs as well, that we
That
don't
they-
shut down the hill,
right.
Just-
But not not regular
but not
employees.
employees, just-
And this,
Okay.
to me, if
I'm
it's
fine with
taking your
leaving it
job,
out.
should your job be, you think your job could live in Pueblo? Come up here all the time?
If they're willing to commute,
As the director of our office?
it wouldn't bother me one way or the other.
Okay. All right, I'm good with not having it based on the whole idea that drives the thought process about emergency people should live here. But
We can't have it.
that's up to you guys. I mean,
But yeah, I mean, it's,
I could see somebody living in Hillside and coming in here and doing this job.
oh yeah, right outside of Wetmore,
Right.
that would be considered Florence, and
Yeah.
that's, you know,
If they can't get in here to issue payroll, then what happens?
Well,
no,
Oh,
I made sure.
I know, see, that's what I said, but you live down the street.
okay, I'm gonna suggest then so we can move on that we table or postpone this until our next meeting. So if we could put this back on the agenda for September the 16th and consideration of the same wording, really, nothing changes, I don't think.
Whatever we-
I'll put it in this one, and then we'll all get one.
I
Okay,
already sent it to you.
Okay.
okay.
I'm
You
gonna put almost final. Something.
almost a revision.
Just put Rev 3.
Okay.
Just keep track
You
of
good
it.
there, Kel? All right, thank you. Okay, we'll move on. Thank you for your time and input on that. Our next, and let's try to remember to look at the vacancy announcement again a little closer next time too. So when we do go to the paper, both those documents line up. That makes
Yes,
sense?
this-
It's
but-
that one, right? Maybe I'll just send them both to you when I do.
Okay,
the update.
okay.
I know we're close, but could we take a 3-minute break?
Yeah, I'm trying
else
to
we
pull
got?
up the agenda again real quick.
I only
got
see,
rid of it.
I don't see anything.
That's what I was getting. Oh, substance abuse,
Consideration of
we could
substance
just hammer
abuse
that
block
out real
grant.
quick. It's,
Yeah.
They should be online. Yeah, Stacy's on.
oh, okay. Let's go, if you don't mind, Jay, and I'm with you, but I'd
No,
like
it's
to,
cool. It's
especially
cool.
if
We
they're
can do it.
waiting.
I'm
Let's,
good. Let's get it done.
thank you. Okay, so the next item of business is consideration of the substance abuse prevention block grant. I spoke with Superintendent McFalls this morning about this. He's excited, and so if we have folks on the Zoom conference that want to speak about that, is somebody prepared to discuss the substance abuse grant?
Mr. Flowers,
Yes.
Stacy Carroll is here with Mr. Virgilio, and we're
Yes.
just here to answer any questions that you might have on the MOU that we sent over to you guys.
Okay, thank you. Let's pull that up. I just clarified with Superintendent McFalls that this was not a matching grant. He confirmed that it was
Correct.
not. And I don't know who wrote the MOU. My name is not Thomas. My legal name is Tommy.
Okay.
It's not I can't change it on this because it's PDF, so I can sign it with my legal name if you don't think that's a problem.
I don't think that's a problem, but I can certainly send it over with the correction if you would prefer.
We have done that in the past. We've asked that the names be accurately portrayed, yeah.
Then I will take care of that as soon as we get off.
Okay, all right, so we may then entertain a motion to sign the document. It just wouldn't be this document. Does that make sense, gentlemen?
I'm fine with it.
Okay. Other questions for the folks on the Zoom call? I see number 2 says that public health will hire a project administrator. Will that come out of this grant to pay for that?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
And my understanding is that Patrick is the person with public health.
yes.
Okay.
And I guess my questions are going to be, are we assuming that will continue?
As far as I understand, yes, that will continue.
If it's different, you would let us know.
I think,
Yes, sir.
I think it ought to be more specific, really. It says we will hire the employee, the public administrator.
What number are you
Project.
on, sir?
Number 2. And out of the grant funds, the grant's funding that. If the grant is not there, do we continue hiring him? Does it still exist or what?
Right. Yeah, it's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. I looked down at number 5 as well.
I saw that too. That's what
For
brought
paying the
that up.
salary and benefits to the project administrator.
See, we're stuck holding the bag.
But there's no mention that that money should come out of this grant.
The money will come out of this grant.
Okay.
So
And I
what will
think-
happen,
Go
We just
ahead, I'm
need to
sorry.
say that. I believe that. I just want to make sure it's clear in case in the future there is no grant.
Right. So 2
Right.
and 4 should mention will be paid for out of the grant.
Right. Paid for from funds provided by the grant.
Would you agree with that, Stacy?
yes, sir, I will. I do.
All right. Would you mind adding appropriate language to number 2 and number 4?
Absolutely, I will add the language.
Okay. Do you guys have a sense of urgency here, or are we just going through the process?
So commissioners, ideally, we would prefer to have this MOU in place. That way, at the upcoming school board meeting, I will be able to, present the MOU.
Okay. Gentlemen, would you be all right approving this document with the aforementioned changes?
Not only would I approve it, I'll go ahead and move that we approve the intergovernmental agency agreement.
It's
between-
MOU, not IGA.
That's what it says. It
It
says
says
IGA.
Oh, I can change that as well.
Yeah, that's not right. It should be an MOU.
Yeah, I will put that at the top too.
Thank you.
I
Sorry,
apologize.
Jay.
Thank you, guys.
Apologize.
No problem. I was just reading the title.
Yeah, okay. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
so I move that we approve the memorandum of understanding between Custer County School District C1 and Custer County Public Health Office with the following changes. The title will be, I have to take this off, it's killing me.
It's
I'm
crazy,
sorry.
isn't it?
Yeah. Memorandum of Understanding between Custer County School District C1 and Custer County Public Health Office. And then changing paragraphs
2 and 4.
2 and 4 to state that the funds will be paid from the grant.
How about payable by, with grant funds or
That's
using
fine,
grant
however they
funds?
want to state it,
Okay.
as long as it says it's coming from that and change.
Let me bring up another
Hang on a
point.
second.
Hold on
please.
just a sec.
And change Thomas to Tommy G.
Okay.
Flower.
Go ahead,
We need a
is there a second? Hold on just a second. I'll second the motion. It's been moved and seconded to approve the MOU with the aforementioned changes, which we'll go over again right before we vote.
Okay, on the
Commissioner-
changes you just did, Custer County School District and the Custer County Public Health Agency, it's not an
Yes,
office.
should be agency.
Also,
Okay.
Hold on.
It-
just a sec. So office is going to be changed to agency. Are you getting that, Stacy?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
and isn't it the public health, is it an agreement between them and the health agency? Should this be something the Board of Health should be approving or not?
That's a great point, and I wanted to ask,
Yes.
is this a county commissioner issue or a Board of Health?
That's
issue?
right.
So we're trying to clean up some blurry lines between Board of
Sure.
Health and the county commissioners. Do you guys believe this truly is a county commissioner item or Board of Health?
Well, commissioners, if I may, when we originally did the, the initial for the substance abuse prevention block grant, we also had brought it to you three gentlemen for approval as well,
Yes.
in addition to the school board approval, which is why we, thought this was the appropriate forum in which to bring it forth.
It could have
Okay.
been that when that happened, we hadn't cleaned up the lines of authority between the Custer County Commissioners and the Board of
Oh,
Public Agency.
okay.
That was
Yeah.
probably last summer or something,
Yeah.
whenever it was.
Well, it was a year ago that we looked at this the
Right.
last time. So I think Commissioner Kand has a great point. I think this probably should be a Board of Health agenda item. And then we already talked about it. I just want to reaffirm, it's not the Public Health Office. All this document should say Public Health Agency. Commissioner
Okay, and I'm
Fritz has
making that
comment.
change. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to withdraw my motion and put this item on the Board of Health meeting that we're going to have next week.
And
vote
that
on
should
it
be
then.
easy. We're not
And I-
losing any
Hold-
time, really.
Hold on,
And
hold
I'd
on,
like
hold
to
on.
I'd like to see it when we vote on it with the changes, if those could be done within a timely manner. We're planning on a Board of Health meeting on what date, Bill?
The 11th.
On the 11th at
So your
7 o'clock.
request is to withdraw your motion.
Absolutely.
I withdraw my second. So folks, I think you probably just heard the conversation. We believe it should go to Board of Health.
Oh,
Okay,
completely understood. Thank you.
And that meeting is scheduled for September the 11th at 10 o'clock. In the commissioner's room, we will most likely Zoom that, right?
Right.
Chairman Kanda of Board of Health indicates yes, we will Zoom that meeting too. So shall we try it again on the 11th?
Sounds great. Thank you,
When
gentlemen.
is the next school board meeting?
That's,
September
Tuesday
8th.
the 8th.
Oh, the 8th?
Yes.
Well, can you tell them we got modifications? We're going to entertain it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Anything said more than that would be inappropriate. So I
Right.
think
Yes,
we're
sir.
all
No,
on the same boat.
Right,
Sorry that you're not
Well,
going to have this document by the 8th.
right. Well, and we will explain to the school board that we presented it to the county commissioners today on September 2nd and made the clarification that it needs to go to the Board of Health, and we will present it at their next meeting on September 11th, and that's just the timeline that we will have to follow, and they will hopefully support that.
Okay, all right, sounds good. I'm sorry, Commissioner Candace is exactly right. This really should have gone to Board of Health, so I'm glad he picked up on that.
Not a problem.
Okay,
We
so
understand.
it also probably change the signature line to include Board of Health Chairman, William R. Kanda, Board of Health Chair.
Okay. Can you say that one more time, Mr. Flowers?
Yes, William R. Kanda, Board of Health Chairman.
Okay.
I really appreciate your understanding because this is what we're desperately trying to do, is to clean these lines of authority and responsibility up.
Not a problem. We appreciate
All
you
right.
considering.
Thank you. Give me just a second. Boy, that'll test your patience right there, won't it?
That's hard hearing that bumbling.
Oh, you couldn't hear any of those folks? Were you able to hear?
That's why
them?
we were hearing the delay.
No, just a delay. I
Yeah.
would speak and then I would speak again.
And I think part of it, we were hearing us speak there. But I didn't bother me.
Yeah, it was weird, wasn't it? You know how well, when I sang at the Broncos game, you could sing and then you'd hear yourself. No, that was not me. What am I thinking about?
But
Right, and that's what it was, a delay.
this was far superior to what we've had in the past.
Yeah.
So
You
I'm
could hear
not-
them very clear. I
Now,
like
if we
that.
wanted
That's
to
my
up their volume, I mean, if we wanted to hear them louder,
It's on
which
your,
I could have stood to hear her a little louder
you could do it on your computer.
on the computer or on
No, it's
the
on your
Zoom
computer.
volume. So either one would have worked.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
control
either
your
one
own.
would have worked.
And I think where they came up with that they needed to come to you guys is we discussed that at a previous meeting, that you wanted them to come through the board because it had to do, I think at that time you were thinking that you were still gonna be a fiscal agent and, but you told them you wanted it to come through.
Okay. All right. Well, I still think it should have been through Board of Health, yeah. Because I kept thinking, well, wait a minute, we're getting ready to sign off on Public Health Agency and I don't know about that. Yeah. Additional items of business to come before this particular commissioner meeting. Hearing none, we'll entertain any public comment. We are in public comment on the agenda. If you have anything you'd like to convey to the commissioners, now is the appropriate time. Okay, if there's no public comment, Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Commissioner Prince.
Aye.
Commissioner Flower, aye. Commissioner Kanda.
Aye.
Motion carries, meeting is adjourned.
One time you said it's not necessary to have a second.
For,
To adjourn.
it is for adjournment.